Yes.
Yes.
Good evening, folks. Folks. Good evening, folks.
I don't think they're probably get lights on.
Good evening, folks. My name is Robert Cristiano. I'm chairman of the Shelton Planning and Zoning Commission. Today is Wednesday, March 25th. Tonight is a special meeting being held in City Hall Auditorium and virtual via Zoom and live on YouTube. I'll call the meeting at 6:03 p.m. Would everyone please rise if you're able to for the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Ms. Castro, will you please call the roll?
Commissioner Cristiano,
Here.
Commissioner Kelly,
Present.
Commissioner Motto. Here. Commissioner Harger. Here. Commissioner Dickey is out today. Commissioner Apple.
Here.
Commissioner McGee.
Here.
Commissioner Bertola.
Here.
Myself, Alexandria Castro. Our corporation counsel tonight is Attorney McCoy, who will be joining us shortly. I have Dominic DeGangi.
Here.
Nicole Guzman.
Yeah.
Stephanie Charbonneau.
Present.
Brianna Cole.
Here.
Alternate Commissioner McGee, you will be seated in lieu of Commissioner McGee.
Commissioner.
Commissioner Ticky.
So acknowledged.
Thank you. Be moving to our first agenda item, which are public hearings. I'm going to go over our standard public hearing protocol. Before opening the public hearing, I'm going to share again the protocol here. Ms. Castro will indicate if there are any written comments received at least 24 hours before this meeting that have not yet been added to the file. The applicant will present, and the commission may ask questions during and after. Public comments follows. In-person speakers who have signed the speaker sheet, then remote participants who raise, and those who have raised their hand via *9. Each speaker has 5 minutes. Comments should address zoning criteria and the merits of the application, not repeat prior testimony. Comments should be directed to the commission, not the applicant. Speakers shall remain appropriate or maintain appropriate decorum. Any disruptive attendees may be removed. The applicant may respond after all public comments are heard. If further information is needed, the chair will ask for a motion to continue. If any application remains open, the commission cannot discuss it publicly or receive additional information. Once all questions are addressed, the hearing will close. The commission may deliberate immediately or at a future meeting. The first public hearing is for application 2610, PDD number 91, Dominic Thomas for FS Shelton LSC at 745-801 Bridgeport Avenue for a re-subdivision of Lot 3, creating lots 3A and 3B, with Lot 3B being the building identified as number 779 Bridgeport Avenue. This application was accepted for review during the March 11th meeting. The initial subdivision of 7 lots within this PDD was originally approved back in 2019. In January of 24, this commission approved the re-subdivision of Lot 6 into lots 6A, B, and C. This application is specifically for Lot 3. Commissioner Motto, please read the legal notice.
Shelton Planning and Zoning Commission of the City of Shelton, Connecticut hereby gives notice of a public hearing to be held on Wednesday, March 25th, 2026 at 6 p.m. in the auditorium of Shelton City Hall, 54 Hill Street, Shelton, Connecticut, and via Zoom to consider the following. Initiation of application 26-10 PDD number 91. Dominic Thomas for FS Shelton LLC at 745-801 Bridgeport Avenue, Assessors Map 28, Lot 30. For a re-subdivision of Lot 3 into 3A and 3B, with Lot 3B being the Cava building known as 779 Bridgeport Avenue. Plans titled Re-subdivision Lot 3 dated January 27th, 2026, prepared by Rose Tizo and Company LLC, are on file with the Planning and Zoning Office. This property is generally bound as follows: northerly by 3 Enterprise Drive, easterly by 750 to 768 Bridgeport Avenue, southerly by 811 to 819 Bridgeport Avenue, and westerly by 1 Parrot Drive.
Thank you, Commissioner Romano. Ms. Castro, please read the exhibits and confirm if any additional submissions for the record.
The application was received on March 3rd. Site plan, exhibit 1 is a site plan received on March 3rd. Exhibit 2 is a certificate of mailings from March 13th. Exhibit 3 are the sign posting photos. Exhibit 4 is the Lot 3 re-subdivision, brought to lots 3A and B. Exhibit 5 is the Lot 3 re-subdivision dated 3/17/26. And Exhibit 6 is the site plan for the re-subdivision of Lot 3 corrected.
Thank you. Mr. Thomas, please identify yourself and begin your presentation.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Attorney General Thomas Cohen, down 315 Main Street, Dearborn, Connecticut, representing the applicant. The chairman identified the prior subdivision and re-subdivisions. Just very briefly, subdivisions of planned development districts have been around for quite a while. The Hotel Sierra and Longhorn and Chile site was subdivided to allow the hotel to have its own parcel, as was PDD 72 and PDD at the end of at the beginning of Ivy Brook Road. So this was back in 2019. It was determined that an application was made to subdivide, and the property was subdivided into 7 lots, and as stated by the chairman, 2 of the lots have undergone re-subdivision. In addition to that, there have been 3 lot line revision maps, which have been signed off and recorded on the land records. As explained at the beginning, the subdivisions are usually related to financing and or possible sale. And there was, as required back in 2019, a declaration which is recorded on the land records of the city of Shelton, a declaration of easements and covenants with respect to the property. This is an effort to re-subdivide. This is an application to re-subdivide lot 3, 3A, and 3B. 3A being the larger portion with the large building, the one that has Mercado at one end and Galby at the other end, that large building, which has an address, and I won't state for the record, because we went through a financing. All of the lots have been assigned by the assessor their own map and lot number. They were divided up as appropriate, and they were all assigned address between the assessor and the engineer. And lot 3B, the proposed lot 3B, is a smaller lot, which encompasses the Cava building and the park. I just want to point that out. The park that's always been a central thing and is being developed in here, that is along the main entrance and behind the Cava building. That will remain as part of lot 3, the big lot. It's relatively simple and straightforward. As stated, we do have a declaration of easements and covenants. To make it easier, with respect to the subdivision map, which we filed the original one, and I'm not sure, I think one of the commissioners noted that there was an error in the map, in that there was no closure to lot 6A. After contacting the surveyor, you noticed that that is correct. I don't know, the explanation to somebody with JD after the name was something about the CAD file can sometimes wipe it out, so we immediately, and we filed the corrected version of the subdivision map. The map that you have above the screen now is the subdivision map that would have to be recorded. If you could put up the other one, which shows you the larger version, it's just for your edification. And the reason the big one has to be recorded, because all the easements have to be shown as they are on subdivision map. So here's a blow up of lot 3 and lot 3A, as you can see, all the parking and everything that's necessary is encompassed within the lot, and lot 3 would have as part of the declaration of covenants and easement, lot 3 would have a parking easement with respect to any adjoining lots. With that, if there's, I don't know if you want to put up the second page, which is a cropped version all the way down to lot 3. There you go, you can see, and what I was referring to about the park is as you're seeing the picture, the area to the right of lot 3. Is where the parks and the park benches and everything, I don't know how far they are at finishing that, but that will be done now that the Cabo building is constructed. And that is part of a public area and a public walkway that goes from the upper area to the lower area. So I can answer any questions. That's really the extent of it. Answer any questions that you have about it.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes,
Okay, Attorney Thomas, I have one question with the fact that the Fountain Square has been going through subdivision of lots. How does that affect the overall responsibility and maintenance and upkeep of the whole entire shopping center?
That's in the declaration of easements. There's a responsibility is with it. Right now, there's no association because it's under a single ownership. The responsibility of that informing the association lies with the owner of lot 7. Lot 7 has no buildings on it. Lot 7 is the common areas and around the edge of the roads. And so they have the ultimate responsibility to enforce the maintenance of the property, including landscaping, plowing, and whatever else is necessary.
Okay, and that also includes all the locations for all the dumpsters?
Well, those are all part of the site plan, so nobody that buys it can change. They are bound by the requirements of PDD 91.
Okay, but if one of the doors or entrances to one of the dumpsters starts getting to look a little worn, such that would be taken care of under this covenant.
Well, if it's discovered that there's a problem, yes, they would demand it, and yet, what I'm saying is if they do that, or if they do something inappropriate, they can get a cease and desist. The owner would be able to get a cease and desist, as would the owner of lot 7, who's responsible for it.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Chairman,
I have a question. Attorney Thomas, are they individually owned?
Not yet,
They-
right at the present time, it's all under the same ownership, it's all under.
Right, but how about later on?
If there are two options that could happen to them, one is they could be financed. The lots could be separately financed by and still under the same ownership. Option number 2 is that somebody could buy a lot with the pad on it. And then they would be bound by the declaration of easements and covenants that is recorded on the land records. In other words, if they purchased it, it would be subject to that declaration, which includes the fact that they are subject to all the requirements of PDD 91.
Okay, so in other words, it's kind of like an HOA?
Yes, oh yeah, no, there's a requirement, once it gets sold, there's a requirement that they don't call it a homeowners association, I think it's
Right,
called a business
I
owners-
understand, yeah,
business owners association, a BOA.
okay. Okay, thank you.
Commissioner Opel?
Mr. Chair, just a couple of questions. Attorney Thomas, so lot 3 is basically 0.168 of an acre and it consists of a building and a little bit of the surrounding area.
Yeah, yes, I'm not sure the size, I didn't look at the size. of the
Yeah.
lot, but yeah,
3B, okay. So you referenced though, because there's absolutely no parking associated with that specific lot. You say that there are deeds and covenants. Can you explain to me what covenants specifically for parking would be entitled by the owners of lot 3B?
the declaration of covenants that's recorded on the land records has a parking easement. Okay, that unless there's, for the benefit of, all the other parcels, you have the right to park in the other lots unless there's a restriction. So, for example, I guess I can cite this, the people people going to Cava would technically not be able to park if they were going to Cava, unless they were just going to pick something up. Right across from them is parking spaces that have 15-minute time limits. And those are for some of the businesses that are there. And so
That's against building 3A.
that's lot 3A, correct. But so they wouldn't be able to do that. Anywhere else, they would be able to park because they have the right, they have the right to pass and repass over the other lots, in other words, the cars, to access their property, and they have the right to park on any non-restricted parking. And the only restricted parking are those there. I think there's some pickup restriction parking in Chick-fil-A, and there may be some pickup restricted parking at Panera, but other than that, it's all public parking.
And is there a reason why you didn't include the 9 or 10 lots, parking spaces that are immediately adjacent?
I didn't do the subdivision map, and I don't know the reasoning for it, because I think it's because they still have the right, I mean, they still have the right to park there. There's no prohibition just because it's on a different lot. So even though you have the property on a different lot, there is this declaration that's recorded. So anybody buying it is gonna be subject to the declarations, anybody buying it for it. And so therefore, they have the right to park there, based on the declaration.
And this commission seen those declarations?
The declaration was provided, it had to be provided when we did the 2019, it's recorded on the land records.
Yeah.
Okay, because I didn't see it as part of this application, so that's why I'm asking.
Yeah, this was part of the requirement when we went through this in 2019.
And basically, we're creating a non-conforming lot, because if you have no parking, you basically can't have a building.
No, it's not, it has the adequate parking there, the adequate parking for all the uses is on there. Because even though the lot ownership, it may be in somebody else, it's not non-conforming because it complies with the total requirements of the PDD. So you have to go then to the statement of uses and standards. And in the statement of uses and standards, the parking regulations and everything is for the PDD, not for specific parcels.
Thank you.
Any other commissioners have any other questions?
I just wanted to ask, just to verify, so whoever the owner is of Cava would not have the ability to come on their own and erect signs that say parking for Cava only.
No, they're specifically under the declaration, but not only that, I mean, and there has been one instance when somebody was approaching the owners about it, and they were instructed by the owners to have a conversation with Attorney Thomas, who gave them a little bit of PDD 101, you know, not PDD 101, but PDD law 101, and what their requirements are and everything of that nature. And so no, they would not be able to do anything on their own without doing what any other owner would have to do. In other words, come in for an application and everything.
Okay, thank you, Attorney Thomas.
Thank you. Seeing there's no other questions, looking at the sign-in sheet, there's no folks that signed up. Ms. Castro, is there anyone who signed up on raising their hand or using *9 to be speaking for the public portion?
No.
No?
No,
Okay. See, we have no other comments, no other comments from the public. How does the commission like to proceed
Move
with
to
the
close the public hearing, Mr. Chairman.
Second it.
second? All in favor to close the public hearing?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion passes to close the public hearing. How would the commission like to proceed? Have a anticipation, I had a resolution drafted for approval. Is the commission in favor to proceed with the resolution? Favorable resolution.
Of, moving forward.
I would second that.
Scott, sure you want to move forward with that?
Yeah, there you go.
Folks, as we're preparing this document, anyone who wishes to speak, who didn't sign up already, you need to sign up on the sign-in sheet up front.
we have a draft resolution to be discussed on March twenty-fifth. Public hearing date was March twenty-fifth, 2026. For application 2610, application of FS Shelton LLC, CO Attorney Dominic Thomas, Cohen and Thomas, 315 Main Street, Derby, Connecticut, 06418. For approval of a re-subdivision of Lot 3 within Plan Development District 91, creating lots 3A and 3B, with Lot 3B being the building identified as number 779, Bridgeport Avenue, located at 745 to 801 Bridgeport Avenue, Shelton, Connecticut. Subject property is located within Plan Development District number 91, commonly known as Fountain Square, a mixed-use commercial development at 801 Bridgeport Avenue at the corner of Parrot Drive. The PDD was adopted and effective March 30th, 2018. The commission approved final detailed development plans for phase 1 in September of 2018. 2019, the commission approved the initial subdivision of the property into 7 separate lots within PDD 91. These lots were created with the purpose of being owned and sold individually, allowing for separate ownership of the various buildings within the development while maintaining the overall integrity of the PDD and its shared infrastructure. January of 2024, the commission approved application 2330, a re-subdivision of Lot 6 into 3 separate lots designated as Lot 6A, B, and 6C. That approval established a precedent for further lot line refinement within PDD 91, as individual buildings are sold to separate owners. Documentation confirming proper procedures for easements and shared maintenance responsibilities was incorporated into that approval. Commission findings were that the application was submitted in accordance with section 34 of the zoning regulations. The proposed re-subdivision is consistent with the original approval of PDD number 91 and subsequent subdivision of the property into 7 lots in 2019. The re-subdivision follows the same pattern established by the commission's approval of the Lot 6 re-subdivision in January of 2024. After completing discussion and closing the public hearing of this application, staff offers this resolution for action by the commission. And on the basis of these findings and concerns noted above, the following resolution is offered. Whereas applicant FS Shelton LLC has submitted a complete application for a re-subdivision of Lot 3 within Plan Development District number 91, creating lots 3A and 3B located at 745 to 801 Bridgeport Avenue, Shelton, Connecticut. And whereas PDD number 91, commonly known as Fountain Square, was adopted and effective March 30th, 2018. And the commission approved final detailed development plans for phase 1 in September of 2018. And whereas in 2019, Commission approved the initial subdivision of the property within CDD number 91 into 7 separate lots with the purpose of allowing individual lots to be owned and sold separately. And whereas in January of 2024, the Commission approved applications 2330, the re-subdivision of Lot 6 into Lot 6A, 6B, and 6C, establishing procedures for further lot refinement within PDD number 91. And whereas the purpose of the current application is to re-subdivide Lot 3 into 2 separate lots designated as Lot 3A and 3B, with Lot 3 being the building identified as number 779 Bridgeport Avenue. And whereas the Commission held and completed a duly noticed public hearing on March 25th, 2026, during which hearing the applicant presented its proposal. And whereas the Commission is familiar with the applicable provisions of the Shelton zoning regulations and statement of uses and standards applicable to PDD 91, and has reviewed and discussed the subject proposal in detail, and subject to the comments and findings set forth above, the Commission notes the following. The application complies with applicable zoning requirements and the provisions to the Shelton zoning regulations. All necessary referrals have been made in accordance with section 34 of the zoning regulations. The proposed re-subdivision is consistent with the established pattern of lot division within PDD number 91 and does not adversely affect the overall development or shared infrastructure. Appropriate documentation for easements, parking, and certain maintenance responsibilities will govern the subdivided lots consistent with the declaration of easements applicable to the entire PDD. Now therefore, on the basis of the findings and concerns noted above, the various representations made at the public hearing and other discussions of the Commission, Shelton Planning and Zoning Commission, in accordance with the provisions of section 34 of the Shelton zoning regulations, hereby takes the following action: to approve with modifications, or deny the application for re-subdivision of Lot 3 within Plan Development District number 91, creating lots 3A and 3B, with Lot B being the building identified as number 779 Bridgeport Avenue, as shown on the re-subdivision map submitted with the application. If approved, said re-subdivision is set forth here and shall become effective upon filing with the town clerk. Have any comments or notes? We can.
Mr. Chair,
Yes,
is it possible on that last bullet right before the therefore? Will we talk about? Go the other way. Here we go, that last bullet, appropriate documentation for easements, parking, and shared maintenance and upkeep. If we could have the words and upkeep responsibilities.
yes.
Isn't that in the declaration though?
Right, but that would be good to get that out in the open.
Yes.
Can I go on?
Okay, any other comments?
Mr. Chairman, I think we can delete the yellow highlighted area that said further findings.
Yes, so make
That. Will be to approve.
I'll make a motion to approve.
I'll second that.
Scott, shall we please call the roll?
Commissioner Cristiano,
Aye.
Commissioner Kelly,
Aye.
Commissioner Motto,
Aye.
Commissioner Harcher,
Aye.
Commissioner Apple,
Aye.
and Commissioner McGee.
Aye.
Motion. Motion passes 6-0. Thank you.
Kelly?
Next item is B. On our public hearing is application 26-08 PDD number 60, 255 Canal Street, or 255 Canal Shelton LLC at 255 Canal Street, Assessors Map 129, Lot 16, a major modification to a PDD. The application proposes 48 two-bedroom residential units with on-site parking in site section E and an amendment to the statement of uses and standards. This application was accepted for review during the March 11th meeting. This is a modification to PDD number 60, which was originally approved for several residential sites in 2008. This application is a modification specifically for site E. Commissioner Motto, can you please read the legal notice?
Initiation of application 26-05 PDD number 60, 255 Canal Street, Shelton LLC at 255 Canal Street, Assessors Map 129, Lot 16, for a major modification to a PDD. The application proposes 48 two-bedroom residential units with on-site parking in site section E pursuant to an amended statement of uses and standards. Plans entitled Multifamily Residential Building prepared by Rose Tizo and Company LLC, dated January 8th, 2026, and supporting materials are on file in the Planning and Zoning Office. The property is generally as follows: northerly by Housatonic River, easterly by 235 Canal Street, southerly by 0 Canal Street, Assessors Map 129, Lot 26, and westerly by 267 Canal Street.
Thank you, Commissioner Amato. Ms. Castro, can you please read the exhibits and confirm if any additional submissions for the record?
The application received on February 18th, 2026. Exhibit 1 is the statement of uses. Exhibit 2 is the legal description. Exhibit 3 is the abutting properties. Exhibit 4 is the engineering report dated January 27, 2026. Exhibit 5 is the PDD submission drawings dated February 16, 2026. Exhibit 6 is the city engineer review dated February 25th, 2026. Exhibit 7 is the fire marshal review dated February 26, 2026. Exhibit 8 is the review from Dominic DeGangi dated March 5th, 2026. Exhibit 9 is a letter from the Conservation Commission dated March 10th, 2026. Exhibit 10 is the renderings. Exhibit 11 is the certified mail receipts. Exhibit 12 is the sign posting photos. Exhibit 13 is the notification letter. Exhibit 14 are the revised site plans. Exhibit 15 is the engineering response to the revised site plans. Exhibit 16 is the city engineer recommendation for approval.
Thank you. Will the applicant please identify themselves and proceed, please?
Don Stanziel, from Midland Development and Cedar Village, here with Manny Silva and Mike Fennell from Rose Tiso. Seeking your approval for 48 unit, 2-bedroom, to match similar to what we've done on 281 Canal. Same looks on what we normally do on our buildings. It originally was approved roughly 15 years ago. The PDD was approved for roughly 56 units. We're going with 48 2-bedroom units and with 2 parking on for each unit. Manny Silva will explain the next part of this.
Good evening, Manny Silva from Rose Tizo and Company, representing the applicant, licensed engineer in the state of Connecticut. As Mr. Stanziel detailed. The proposal is to modify the PDD that was part of a larger PDD for the whole downtown area. Again, as he stated, it was slated for around 50-something units. We're proposing 48. As you can see here, what we have is the Canal Street running north-south along the left here. And then there's a Worcester Street where it intersects. We have some parking across the street because the applicant owns the land across the street. So we have some additional spaces there. Our circulation on site will be entering from the right here, or the south entrance. You'll have some angled spaces outside of the building. And then you come around and come under the building. This is the building here, the darker shade. And then you'll have 33 parking spaces under the building under a podium. And then the remainder of the spaces will be angled on a one-way here, on the exit side of the parcel also. Again, the site plan shows here how we conform with the PDD regulations for this project. Our unit breakdown is here at the bottom, where we have 48 two-bedroom units. Our parking spaces required are 92, and we provide 93, so we have one over what's required by the zoning regulations. And then what we have are basically, again, our circulation here. The town engineer, this project has already gone in front of the WPCA where it got approval. And in front of the town engineer, which he also had some comments and we addressed them. Some of the things that happened at the WPCA level was that the sewer, here's the SP2 is our grading and utility plan, where we have a sewer lateral will come out to the property to a drop manhole and then out to, on a regular lateral, out to Canal Street. Our utilities will be coming off of Canal Street, water, gas, and electrical. Our storm drainage, right now the site is just a empty lot, which used to have a large factory on it that occupied the whole parcel for all intents and purposes. That was demolished maybe 5 years ago. And the lot's been vacant ever since, so there's no stormwater controls. Everything from the parcel, even when it was a factory, just got discharged straight into Houstonic River. One thing that we are required to do now by the DEP and the city of Shelton is to collect that water, treat that water, and hold it on site. And what we do is that we have a treatment train. Basically, the water falls onto the pavement, goes into the catch basin. There's a snout there that stops all the floatables within that unit. Doesn't let any paper or oil leave that catch basin. That then goes to it gets conveyed here to a water quality unit, which then further slows down the water in these little vortices, and then drops any suspended solids or heavy metals that's suspended in the water down to the bottom of the unit, and does not convey downstream from there. And then from there, it goes to an underground gallery system, which is basically an underground tank that's made out of concrete that has an open bottom to allow water to infiltrate through it and filter through to the bottom. And in our drainage report, we show that we have a reduction in flow for the 2-year storm, the 5-year storm, the 10-year storms, 25, the 50, and the 100. Our 2-year storm is reduced by 300%. And all the way up to our 100-year storm, which is reduced substantially. I think it was around 25%. So that is a part of our treatment train to not just control the water and reduce flooding downstream, which is the Houstonic River in this case. But we are now capturing all that water and keeping it on site. And then we're also increasing its water quality. So it's not just volume that we're holding back, we're also increasing that water quality of that water that was coming off the site from the existing condition. So during construction, we require a soil and erosion control plan, which is SP3. And that's because the site, when it's being under construction, has disturbed loose soil on the property. And so if we do have a rain event during construction, the site itself has an envelope of silt fence around it, which also has hay bales, staked hay bales behind the silt fence, so that it has some structural rigidity and just filters that water before it leaves the site. We also have silt sacks on all the catch basins that are going in, so that if water does get into the new catch basins that's muddy, it gets filtered and caught in the sack, and it doesn't get conveyed into the system, so that once we have the site paved and landscaped, we pull those sacks and the system is new and ready to go on day one. We also have an anti-tracking pad at the entrance, which is a large stone bed to knock any mud or any debris on the actual vehicles that come in and off the site, and does not track that into Canal Street, which is a public roadway. The next plan is the landscaping plan. It's our ornamental landscaping plan. The plan proposes shade trees around the perimeter to help cool the asphalt area. And then we have some low growth grasses and shrubs at the base of the building, kind of to break up the elevation of it. As you can see, it's a pretty substantial planting plan, kind of to shield or screen the property itself. And we also have the Riverwalk, which is part of the overall master plan for the downtown area. And that's along the river there. It connects, it starts at the southerly property and then extends all the way up to the Star Pin property, which someday in the future will be completed. And then from the Star Pin property, Mr. Stanziel's other project, which is near completion, will have a Riverwalk to the locks.
We require native plantings,
Correct. So
so
the-
we've got a few there that don't.
Yeah, if we could substitute, I think the majority of the shade trees are pin oaks and sugar maple, which is native.
Good,
Yep.
yeah.
I think, if you could tell me which one, I think it's the,
The PJMs, you guys all about those.
yep, the junipers.
No, the PJMs, the
Oh,
shrubs.
okay,
Yeah, and I'm not sure, but I don't think that feathery grass, there are native grasses that are used for landscaping that would be.
Right, so we'll substitute the PGM rhododendrons.
Yeah, I'm not sure about the Potentia leucosa. You could check that.
Yeah, I'll check that with
Yeah.
the Yukon database. Yep,
Thank you.
yeah, no problem.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's basically our ornamental, landscaping plan. And then SP5 is our soil erosion control narrative, and you can see the detail here of our silt sack and how that, filters water before it goes in the catch basin. And then this is the silt fence with the structural component behind it, which is the, stake hay bale. We then have our standard details of parking, curbs and signage. Our standard detail for the underground gallery system, as you can see here, it's a concrete tank with slots on the sides and an open bottom to let water filter through the ground. Our site lighting will be this colonial acorn. And then we have some the Riverwalk paving is required to be brick pavers, similar to this here. And then here's our water quality implements. This is the snouts that basically is a turn down thing that goes inside of the catch basins to not let any floatables out of the catch basin. Our water quality unit, which filters out the water from any suspended solids or floating oils. And then that's it for the site plans. If anybody's any questions for me, before I turn it over to our Director of Architecture, Mike Finelli.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes,
just a question. You talk about putting the Riverwalk behind the building, but I see a notation that, you're not gonna do anything with the bridge to the neighboring property, just, you don't own the property to the southeast, is that correct?
That's correct, sir. The property to the south, and the master plan, the property to the south, showed as a bridge being built on their property to connect the Riverwalk over that little jetty there. Since we don't own that property, we wouldn't be building that bridge, but what we'll do is we'll accommodate the Riverwalk, we'll stop it there and ready for an extension, and then we give access to the Riverwalk through our property, if that bridge, until that bridge is built.
Mr. Chairman, I have a question.
Yes.
Who owns that?
I don't know.
It says J Watt on the
Who owns what?
The property to
property
the
to the
south.
southeast.
I think on either side, 235 on the right, I don't know if it closed yet, Watts owns it. But I believe it's going, Primrose is purchasing it, and 267, I believe Primrose possibly is still purchasing that as well.
So he has the obligation of extending the walkway through
Yes.
and the bridge.
But I believe the town is, because they are going through easements on all of ours to complete the Riverwalk and the design. The town is handling that on the
Oh, okay.
SEDC.
I did notice that there was a letter from, Mr. Harvison on the width of the Riverwalk.
Yeah, he's correct on that. That's,
He is correct.
because we usually keep what we did on 281 at least 6 feet, but 90% of it's 8 feet wide, which should be plenty. And there is some that are 10 feet, there's some spots.
Right, okay,
But I believe the only couple spots are the narrowest is 6 feet.
okay, thank you.
But I believe it's,
Where-
we have to match everything, like we did on 281, we're matching everything that is consistent with what
You
is,
put in,
yes.
okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Mr.
Any other
Chairman, I have a question.
Yes, sir.
Is there any affordable units proposed?
No, not at this time, because right now, this is gonna be 48 2-bedroom residential units to be sold. So at this time, we don't have plans on it. Because if they're gonna be purchasing them, usually we just do that for the apartments that we rent.
Okay, so these are going to be sold units and not rentals.
Correct.
Right.
But they're not to be condos.
Well, they are.
Well,
They're gonna be sold.
Okay.
They're 48 2-bedroom units,
But the-
It says,
residential units.
it's listed as apartment.
Sorry.
So, can you tell me where the flood line is?
So the flood line effective, so the map shows it kind of cutting through the actual property, but when you look at the transects, which is the analysis of the Housatonic River flooding, the elevation, the effective elevation of where the flood limit is, the flood line is on the outside here along the banks of the to the east on the bank. So what happened is when FEMA redid their maps right after Sandy, I think the building had been demolished and they went with their aerial and they kind of struck a line through the property, but based on the elevation of the flood study, the flood line or the flood limit is outside of the right here along the bank of the.
So you're building in what was once the flood zone, but now it has been.
It was the flood zone and now it is, then it was, and now it's effectively not. So what it is that the FEMA tries its best to show a flood line based on elevation, and they give you a flood elevation. So based on the topography and what the flood elevation is, the flood line or the 100-year flood line is outside of the property.
How high above the river is that walk?
We are at elevation, the walk ranges from elevation 26, I think, down to 20. And the river is down at elevation 6.5. 6,
So you're like 14 feet
correct,
at the low point.
yeah.
Okay.
But everything is documented with FEMA as to what they're looking for, what they require, and what you have.
Yeah, we're compliant with the FEMA regulations.
It would be with every other building that's being.
Correct. Sometimes, like I said, FEMA creates these maps from aerial photos way up in the air.
This one's
So-
higher.
So they don't have the detail to see what's really going on for each individual lot on the ground. And so what we have to do is use best engineering practices to try to decipher where that flood line it really should be for individual properties. And sometimes there's a little deviation, sometimes like this is a bigger deviation.
Mr. Silver, does this take into account potential 100-year storm calculations?
Yes, so that transect study that I was talking about, which is the river flood study. FEMA takes cross sections of the river as they go down, as it comes down to Long Island Sound. And they estimate what the flows would be, and what that 100-year flood line or is the 100-year flood limit of when, how high the river will get. And in this case, I think it was around, elevation 18 and we're up at in the 20s, so,
28.
yeah.
Is there any stabilization of the riverbank that you have to do?
Yeah, we, in fact, by building the Riverwalk, we're gonna have to build a retaining wall. And that retaining wall will have stabilization at the base of it, armoring, and the wall itself, will be marine, ready, so.
Mhm.
Similar to what we did at Canal Street up by the locks.
Right now, what's the condition of the two lots across the street that is owned by the applicant? They're pretty overgrown and all.
Correct.
No, there's,
So,
Did you?
well, there's nothing on them. People, it's gonna be nice to purchase this once this is approved. Then people can stop parking on them. It would be lovely.
is that where I saw a lot of, large.
Yeah,
Tractor trailers, dump trucks.
you name it, it's all there. We're gonna fence it in as we're, use that for, to, stabilize everything. We use for a staging area for us.
Mhm.
But it'll be all fenced in. This property will be all fenced in while we're working.
Do you have, plans to have gate controlled entrance to the park?
Yes. Yes.
Any other questions for site plan?
Mr. Chairman, just one more. I noticed that you included 2 turning radiuses for fire trucks.
Yeah,
Can you address that? Because it looks like your corners are really squeezy.
so what we did is we had to provide, turning radiuses for trucks to come in and out of the both driveways. But he doesn't necessarily have to circulate in there. And the fire marshal wasn't too concerned about it because he's never gonna pull in there to do. He's always gonna try to control the fire away from the building. He's not gonna pull up to a burning building. But we just wanted to show that it was possible for him to turn in there.
Okay, now let's talk about a dumpster truck, since the dumpster is located in that back right-hand corner or back left-hand corner.
Yep,
And how are you proposing that the garbage truck go in the wrong way to pick up their
it's gonna
dumpsters?
be right here. So there's 2 different types of dumpster pickups. I mean, there's one that are front loaders. So a front loader would have to come in early in the morning. Backwards through that exit. But if it is a rear loader, which there are rear loader, fork, trucks, he would just pull in front of it, back into it, lift it up and leave, and then come back with the empty, container.
Yeah. If you put the dumpsters on the other side, then the guy could drive in the way he's supposed to.
That is true, but that's our access to the Riverwalk. We were trying to keep that clear. We didn't want to put dumpsters in front of where people would access the Riverwalk.
Can I speak on that? Yes. So dumpsters are always an issue and they won't be on the street like other people have them here. They'll be tucked in there and these roll. I mean, for the 48 units, it shouldn't be a big deal, but they'll roll them right out. If they come in that entrance, it's early in the morning. I don't see that being an issue at all. I mean, usually we don't have an issue on it. We bring it out and roll it in there. It's.
Are you having are these gated driveways?
Yeah, and they have controllers in all the dumpster trucks. So we have it on our buildings now. And it works.
I just think going in backwards, you could be inviting an issue, that's all.
Yep, if it's an issue with the, refuse guy, we can work out that he uses the equipment that would work there, basically a rear loader versus a front one, Or if he would like, he may have us roll it out in front of that, back, be perpendicular to this back area.
Right.
That's
Pick it
usually
up.
what we would do.
Yeah.
Any other questions on site plan?
Mr. Chair, I have a question.
Yes, sir.
Just coming back to the affordable for a second. So I hear you that these are going to be sold and these aren't rentals, but you haven't thought about doing deed restrictions as affordable even for these units? You haven't considered
No.
that?
Not required, Commissioner McGee, if the applicant selling units, they're not required to offer affordable
No,
units.
I know they're not required, but it is, and within our affordable housing plan, if there's over 40 odd units, I think we would like to see, I know it's not required, but we'd like to see 14% affordable, and this is an area where I think it really matters.
14% affordable?
Yeah, versus 14%.
Where's the 14% come from?
It's in our affordable housing plan.
Oh, I thought it was 10%, it's 14%. Yeah, I mean,
It's 14% for over 40 units, I believe, but I could be wrong. I would check with staff.
okay,
That's,
You should really. You shouldn't be getting on this topic into the affordable housing. The proposal, the plan, the application is what it is. I think this is.
I agree.
Part of the discussion.
Looking at,
Well, it's just,
it's just a waste of time.
you're getting into something that's not relevant to this, and if there is an appeal or something, it could affect the appeal, so.
Well, we've certainly asked the question before to other applications, so.
That could
Those
be
on
for
apartments.
high density
Right.
residential.
You can still deed restrict for owner occupied as well.
Okay, sir, if you want to proceed on our next.
Here's Mike Finelli, our Director of Architecture from Rose Tucson. Just tell me when to change, you know.
you just want to put So the building is keeping in the similar building as we've done for the developer. You know, we have the parking underneath, the main entrance, the mail, all our meter rooms are down there, 2 stairs for egress. And then as you go up the building, all the units are 2-bedroom units. They're all gonna have balconies. And the units are pretty much very similar in design. As far as the look of the building, I mean, we're keeping with the same architecture that we've done for this client, for the many buildings that he has. Cedar shakes up on top, all the trim is simulated wood. And then down below, we just have vinyl siding. We'll also have some brick around the bases on the bottom. The columns will be all stucco clad. Other than that, it's very similar to every other building we've done for the developer.
Is there an electronic version of the art rendering?
Hold on.
Yeah.
So on top here is the cedar shakes, then vinyl siding. And then we'll have brick stonework here at the bottom of the columns. And then stucco, you said the stucco is above that, right, Mike?
Yeah, the columns, yeah, I think we do the columns in a stucco finish.
Yeah, and then the white pieces are the simulated wood, correct?
All PVC. All PVC, the bay windows are all
Everything's
PVC.
Good idea.
The adjacent greenery on the right, that's adjacent property.
Yeah,
Yeah, we're trying to make it look nice.
yeah, it's better than that.
So same thing on the other side.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah, we didn't want to put a burned out building there.
It is what it is.
Yeah.
I mean, the feature marketing plan.
Don't start looking at the cars either. Yeah.
The for parking underneath, was there any kind of discussion as to enclosing it somewhat? With grading or something? Or? I think that's come up before and other.
So it's something I think that we could do is some screening on the front there, but trying to close off the parking is something that we try not to do because then it becomes a fire code problem with access for emergency personnel, number one, and then number two is you have to have fresh air come through. If it's very enclosed, then you have to have carbon monoxide HVAC units in there to try to get fresh air in there and get the carbon monoxide out. What we try to do is actually screen the front with the dense plantings that we have there. That's what we can do. I mean, otherwise, the other thing would just to be some kind of, put some kind of screening, like I don't want to say lattice, but something similar to that in the front, but the size I think wouldn't be visible or affected.
Yeah, it's not that I'm looking for your design to be changed, it's just the thought process and getting it out in the open as to, yes, we did think of it, and these are the reasons why.
What I'd like to do is what works best, if we had to fence in around there, but on this case, with the property, with the size of it, I would like to, if we can fence in the property, and then you have the gates on each end, so you really don't wanna, it'll look too closed in, we want the open look. So it would be best to, fence the property.
Mr. Chairman, one question on parking.
Yes,
So these are, units are sold, and I take it then each of the 2 parking spaces are deeded to the unit?
They get 2 spaces.
But are
Yes.
they specific spaces, underground versus outside, one in, one out?
One in, one out, they'll all be numbered. You know, they'll have 2 spots.
Is that elevator building or?
Yes.
Yeah, I didn't see any floor plan.
No, there's no.
You don't have the floor plan on here.
Yeah, it's not.
I didn't see any.
No,
No.
that's right.
Nothing?
Oh, no, I saw my, I
Oh, okay. Yeah, any public spaces or any amenities and, no.
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 any other questions for the applicant? Okay,
One question, Mr. Chair.
Yes.
Just I feel like I feel like this should be asked, although it is not your property, in particular, but the two parking lots that you have across the street from this building in the middle, that's the Worcester Street crossing. Are you prepared for, I know the city's been working on reopening that, or have you done any thinking about once that is reopened, how that impacts your parking lots over there and your building?
Yeah.
No.
Well, yeah, I'll answer it, yeah. So we've been in contact with the city engineer, and what we did here was currently the lots are accessed from Canal Street. And now what we're gonna do is access it from Worcester Street, and that's kind of already future proofing it for the eventual opening of Worcester Street with the railroad crossing. Versus having the driveways turn towards the Canal Street, which would be across from our entrances and exits.
Plus,
So
it would
will
take-
the
traffic-
reconstruction of Worcester Street have to be completed before your lots work like that, or can you do that before?
No, we're doing it now, and then our curb lines, which our curb cuts will come out to where the city is proposing to have theirs. So they'll meet with, we'll build our part, and then right now there's like a little patch of pavement out there where the Worcester Street used to be before it got closed off. And then that'll be waiting for the city to redo that area, and that'll match right up, with what we are proposing.
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay.
okay, thank you. Seeing there's no further questions, I'll open this up to the public. I noticed there was no. Sorry, I noticed there was no, oh, there was, yeah, sorry. It's been late. So we have one person in the audience who signed up for this application. I just want to make sure that this person is here to speak on Canal Street. Lisa Fern. Okay, come on up, Mrs. Fern, to the podium, please. Speak. Your name and your, please.
Turn this on.
No, it's on.
Lisa Fernborough. I live on Birdseye Road. I'm here for another matter, but in listening to the details, I noticed you said there's supposed to be 2 parking spots per unit, and you only referenced 92 or 93. And I don't believe your site plan has 48 underneath either, so if I were living there, I know that would be a problem.
Thank you, Ms. Fern. Ms. Castro, is there anyone on Zoom or using Star raise their hand who is requesting to speak?
No.
Does the,
One second. Voting, Mr. Tom Parkinson.
I believe the site plan shows 1.9.
Yeah.
per.
Okay, Mr. Harbinson, you've been given permission to speak.
Go ahead, Mr. Harbinson.
Can you hear me?
Yes,
Yeah.
state your name for the record, please.
Sure. Thomas Harbinson, Shelton, Connecticut. Just a note on the Worcester Street crossing. I know the city of Shelton has been working for a long time to accomplish that, difficult project to create better throughput and access on Canal Street, primarily through the SEDC, office. There are documents at the state of Connecticut, regarding the Department of Transportation approval for that crossing, requiring that the city accomplish it, before some other projects that are already in process along Canal Street were to, be open and occupied. But I think it is in the interest of, health and safety for that to be accomplished. And I would encourage the planning and zoning to write a letter to, the mayor's office and the SCDC, who I believe is managing that, to work diligently to finish it off. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Harbinson. Anyone else, Mrs. Castro?
No.
Does the applicant wish to address either?
Yes, Manny Silva from Rostizo again. So I guess we just rounded it, we said 2 per, but actually the requirement, and what we are complying with is the 1.9 per unit. That's where we come up with the number. And for, you know, many studies have done for these type of developments, and they effectively, require 1.25. So we've tried to get as close to 2 as possible because they are for sale. So that just means that, essentially, we're just 1 or 2 of the units may be shy of the 2 per, and that's will reflect in their price, I'm sure. As far as the, Worcester Street, we have SLR's plan, which was the OSTA, Office of Traffic. You know, it used to be called the Major Traffic Generators, but this is the Office of Traffic and Highway. And you can see our parcel here is E, which was essentially approved for about 56 units. So that's the the State Traffic Commission approved this lot. It's probably 56 units and we're proposing 48. And included in that is the opening of Worcester Street North, with a new railroad crossing. And as the person asking the question stated, the city is actively working with another consultant engineering firm to get that crossing open.
Thank you.
Yep.
Okay, appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Chairman, I do have one, just clarification, so when you refer to it would be reflected in the price, does that mean you're saying, okay, this particular unit, you are only able to purchase 1 parking space?
Yeah, I would think it would be marketed differently, so there would be a, different price accordingly, right? So like if you were to, even if there's apartments that are for rental, if they come with 2 spaces, they're rented at a higher cost if they're less than that. For instance, Stone Ridge and Fairfield, they had underground parking and they charged an extra 30,000 for an underground parking space. So when you went to buy your unit, if you wanted a subterranean parking space that was out of the rain and cold, you had to pay an extra $30,000. I'm not saying that's what's gonna happen here. I don't think so.
No.
But, that's what happened at Stone Ridge over by the train station, in Fairfield.
Yeah, if there's nothing on the plan that shows visitor parking, correct?
Correct.
So that's the concern I would have as spillover on Canal Street. So.
I mean, like I said, the effective, ratio that we've done with traffic studies and parking studies on apartments, or, co-ops like this is effectively 1.25 or 1.2. So since we're exceeding that, I think that anybody that's, has these or in general wouldn't be using both. And that would be, said that had somebody coming over to visit or whatever, that they would have two spaces, they would have a space available for them. And, that's why we haven't provided visitor spaces, because we are exceeding that effective ratio.
That's gonna be a
That could
problem.
be the case, but that's.
It's gonna be a problem.
I've never visited.
Your problem.
So it's just,
No.
we gotta get this out on the table as to the potential for congestion down there. Is, something that you can't brush off, so.
So you have 48, if I could just do some, you have 48 units,
Yep.
right? So at 1.25, which you say is the minimum required for that,
Well, it's what, in general, what we find in the studies, 1.25.
that gives you 60 spaces. You've got 93. Is there any way to take several of the spots that are along the lots and label them as visitors?
That's possible, we can designate a certain amount for a visitor, up to.
Of the
30.
locks or the,
You have those
Spaces.
two parking spaces on both sides of Worcester
the
Street.
lot, yeah, I thought you said locks. Yeah, the lots, yes.
Yeah.
Across the street.
Right,
Yeah,
there's two lots there, right?
right.
There's 20 spaces available.
Right, I'm not saying take anywhere near all of them, but it may be that you at least provide some designated visitor space as part of your build.
So some would probably have to have one space. And
Right.
other units could have two,
Right,
and then we would leave.
right,
Yeah, that's a better idea.
it
Yes,
keeps the parking off, or at least some of the parking off of Canal Street,
well, it has to keep off.
which we're gonna.
Yeah.
Continue to have problems.
Yes. Understood.
And you may not want to hear this, but the only other option is to scale back the project.
Mm.
Remove.
Well, I feel like we scaled
You can't-
from what was approved. I got it, what was approved, I came down a lot. If I have to give up, I have even extra at the apartment building up the street.
Mhm,
We have 130. I'm really at 205 spots.
mhm,
So if need be, I will do that
Okay.
for visitor parking.
mhm.
But I don't, believe me, I'm one of the few that I really don't want the parking issues, believe me. I am always on that. And thanks to you, all is what we're paying attention to this now. I'm dealing with it every day on Canal Street. So I will do what I have to do to make that happen.
I just think that might be
You're right.
a way to sell it. And you're
Absolutely.
gonna get people who will take a single parking space.
Yes.
Yep.
Thank you. How would the commission like to proceed with the public hearing?
Mr. Chairman, I move we close the public hearing.
Okay,
Thank you.
I'll second.
all in favor to close the public hearing?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion passed to close the public hearing. In lieu of that, are we in favor to move forward with a favorable resolution that I can have prepared for our next meeting? Is that the consensus
No.
of the?
I would, go forward with
I would,
having a favorable resolution.
I will second that.
I would.
Not you, Commissioner McGee?
Nope.
Okay, so be a 5-1 in favor of moving forward with a preparation of a favorable resolution for our April, is it 11th meeting?
April 8th.
April 8th meeting. Okay. Thank you. Gosh, can you put this in the file? Okay, we'll be moving on to our final item C. Should remind everyone, as I mentioned earlier at the beginning of the meeting, when we get to the public portion. Public portion is each person has 5 minutes. To remind you, we have a lot of folks signed up today. You're requested to not repeat items that have been previously stated. Like to be able to get to everybody tonight. Final item for the public hearing is application 2609. Quintara Building and Renovation LLC at 276 Leavenworth, Assessors Map 151, Lot 1, for a zone map change from R1A to R1. The area of the proposed zone change is plus minus 3.3 acres. This application was accepted for review during the March 11th meeting. Commissioner Motto, can you please read the legal notice?
Initiation of application 26-09 Quaranta Building and Renovation LLC at 276 Leavenworth Road, Assessors Map 151, Lot 1, for a zone map change from R1A zone to an R1 zone. The area of the property included within the proposed zone change is a plus or minus 3.3 acres of the total plus or minus 5.3 acres, and abuts the Pear Main Road side of the property. Plans entitled Zone Change Map, prepared by Lewis Associates dated February 16th, 2026, are on file in the Planning and Zoning Office. The property is generally bound as follows: northerly by 59 School Street, easterly by 0 Leavenworth Road, Assessors Map 151, Lot 47. Southerly by 224 Birdseye Road, and westerly by 278 Leavenworth Road.
Thank you, Commissioner Motto. Ms. Castro, can you please read the exhibits and confirm if any additional submissions for the record were submitted?
We have the application. Exhibit 1 is the zone change map. Exhibit 2 is the list of abutters. Exhibit 3 is the zone change description. Exhibit 4 is the statement for the zone change. Exhibit 5 is the certificate of mailings. Exhibit 6 is the
Podium.
colored zone change map. Exhibit 7 is the NBCOG referral report. Exhibit 8 is the notice of public hearing. Exhibit 9 is the sign posting photo. Exhibit 10 is the resident letter. Exhibit 11 is the resident letter. Exhibit 12 is the letter from Aquarian Water Company. Exhibit 13 is a resident letter. Exhibit 14 is the preliminary site development plan. Exhibit 15 is the mailing certificate for Aquarian and the Department of Health. Exhibit 16 is a letter from the Shelton Land Trust, and Exhibit 17 is a resident letter.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, just a procedural question, and maybe Attorney McCoy can answer it. The legal notice stated that the property is 3.3 acres. The property in question is 3.3 acres. Yet the applicant's application says it's 3.12 acres. And I don't want us to get caught in the middle of something if one is not correct over the other.
The 3 was supposed to represent the area of the zone change, not the entire parcel.
Right, and it says area of zone change on the application 3.12. So you have two different size parcels, and I want to make sure we're not going to get ourselves in any trouble.
So it's listed on the map.
The map says 3.3, the legal notice says 3.3, but the application says 3.1.
The map says 3.3.
That's what I said. But the application that was filed, it says 3.1.
These, does it say plus or minus
Nope,
on our legal notice?
Legal
the legal
note.
notice says plus or minus.
That's the reference. We can refer that. Typically, the legal notice is written as a plus or minus, or it's our standard way of writing it.
The question is if this is the application, if it's plus or minus.
Right.
I thought the applicant was gonna address that, I think.
Oh, that's another part.
That's another part. I think it's acceptable, I mean, I think he can file especially if he gets the legal notices that is correct, yeah, the legal notice is correct, so the application should be fine, they could revise the application.
Okay.
Thank you, Attorney McCoy. Before we begin the proceeding with the presentation, and due to the timing of notices for review of the watershed, it is my intent to request that the public hearing for this application be left open in order for Aquarion and the Connecticut Department of Public Health to be allowed the opportunity to review and provide comments relating to the watershed. It will be left open. It will be my request to leave it open to a future meeting. I will decide on that date when we get to that point. Will the applicant please identify yourself and begin your presentation?
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the commission. For the record, Donald Smith Jr., professional engineer with an office at 56 Queen Circle in Seymour. Representing the applicant, Ferranta Building and Renovation LLC. Gary Ferranta Jr. is here with me tonight, as well as Tracy Lewis, the land surveyor. We are here tonight requesting a zone change of an approximately 3.3 acre parcel from zone 1A, R1A to an R1. Subject parcel contains 5.287 acres, of which 0.163 acres of that is for wetland. Parcel is located on the south side of Leavenworth Road, west of Birdseye Lane, and north of Paramount Road. The zone change map is there on the screen. The zone change.
Excuse me, Mr. Smith, could you move the mic closer?
Sorry. The zone change is designated as in red, cross hatching on the map that's on the screen. The property is located in a public water supply watershed. Aquarion has been notified of the application, and we apologize for the tardiness of that notice. It had been prepared. It was it's just an oversight that certified letters did not go out. They have been since have been sent out, and we are waiting for Aquarion's response. The proposed zone change would leave the original farmhouse and approximately 2 acres of land intact with it. The remainder of the 180 remaining zone, the parcel, the farmhouse would remain intact, and that zone R1A would remain on that existing parcel. Parcel would be an existing non-conforming lot like others in the R1A zone. The intent of the zone change is to preserve the historic visual integrity and sightlines of Leavenworth Road and maintain the agricultural use of the existing farmhouse. We would also reduce propose to reduce the lot areas of potential lots that would front on Fairmain Road and reflect the smaller lot sizes that are on Fairmain Road. If you could just slide that image up a little bit, so the 2 corner lots on Fairmain and Birdseye, those are about a ½ acre each, and the rest of the lots shown within that radius of the property are a little over 1 acre. So the proposed zone change is in conformance with those lots on the opposite side of Fairmain Road. Even though those lots on the south of Fairmain Road are in the 1A zone, they are substantially smaller, and the R1A zone was dropped over those lots after they were created. In response to some of the letters that have been received and that are in the record, the applicant does not want to pursue multifamily or affordable housing on this parcel. However, reducing the lot size to 40,000 square feet for a portion of that lot parcel will produce more affordable houses than if they were located on a 2.75 acre parcel. So the smaller lot provides us less expensive house. The larger lots would obviously command a higher price. The houses on Paramount Road, the south side of Paramount, are less than the 2.75 acres. In our opinion, the farming use on this parcel was abandoned by the prior owner, not the current owner. According to the letter in the file from, the record from Mrs. Jones, the farm was put on the market at a price that a couple of local farmers with an interest in purchasing it could not afford, and farm banks would not finance. So it wasn't the current purchaser, the current owner that's who it was. We agreed with Mrs. Jones, the prior owners, that priced the property out of the farm market. Regarding Mr. Harbinson's letter, he indicates that the parcel description does not match the map. We would take exception to that and walk you around the descriptions that is part of the record. So, the parcel is bounded to the west by Shelton Assessor's Parcel 151-2, land of David S. Beardsley, 345 feet. Can you put that map back up there, please?
You wanna go, I was gonna try to reach to the page you were at, but I will get back there.
Just have the same zone change that. So, and if you maybe want to zoom in a little bit there, the dimension on the left side of the red. The red. Is 345 feet, which matches the description. The parcel is then bounded northerly and northeasterly by Shelton Assessor's Parcel 151-2, land of David S. Beardsley. Shelton Assessor's Parcel 151-1, remaining land of Ferranta Building and Renovation LLC, and a portion of Birdseye Road, for a total of 586 feet, each in part. So, the upper left corner of the red highlighted area there is 102 feet, which is along David Beardsley. At the angle point, on the parcel, there's a dimension of 459 feet plus or minus. And then all the way over on Birdseye Lane or Birdseye Road, there's a dimension of 25 feet. So 102 and 459 and 25 totals the 586 feet total dimension. The zone change is bounded easterly by the center line of Birdseye Road, 50 feet, which is so indicated on that map. And then the parcel is bounded southeasterly by Paramount Road, 662 feet, which is the dimension along the bottom of that red highlighted area. Said parcel contains 3.3 acres more or less. And I believe that the slight discrepancy between the 3.3 acres that we pulled in and what was on the application would be from a change of the street line for the dedication required from 25 feet of center line. So if there was a subdivision going through, we would be losing property along the frontage of Paramount Road to establish the lot line at 25 feet off the center line. We leave that is the discrepancy between the 3.3 and 3.1.
Yes, so I don't think the money.
Pardon?
No, I understand. Is that this one?
Also in Mr. Harbinson's letter, yes, he went into some discussion about Aquarion. He indicated and stated that. I know that it was in the public water supply. And you did the letters just did not get mailed out. Apologize. We agree that, well. So, basically, in conclusion, we feel that the current proposal is the best use of the property, as it will preserve the farmhouse and store that were existed along Leavenworth Road. And it will, include a majority of the farmland, the farm that went with it. And would provide for more affordable housing as R1 lots rather than R1A lots on Paramount Road. So, we're looking to maintain the farmhouse, we're looking to maintain all the things in the front. We have someone that's looking to purchase that property if this was approved. And we'd like to create the 3 lots, go back to the subdivision application for 3 lots on Paramount, 3 new lots on Paramount Road. With that, any questions?
Thank you. Any commissioners have any specific questions about the information that was presented?
Mr. Chairman, is the house on Leavenworth Road, is that occupied right now?
No.
Hello,
Gary Grant, nice to meet you guys. The house is empty.
Okay. And then, when you're talking about 3 lots, is that something that you plan to put on the market?
Well, my dream was to do a little family compound,
Mhm.
but after meeting Mr. Beardsley, knowing how much the front meant to them, the lineage of the family, that just going back years and years, it would be best used for him up there with all the outbuildings, and then I would be living in the back. We'll see if I can get the parents and the sister to come too.
Oh, so when you're talking about family compound, that was all the property? Is that what your thought process was, but now it's changed to somewhat?
Well, I'm definitely gonna be living there too,
Yeah.
yeah.
But your focus now for your personal use is potentially 3 lots along Pyramid.
Potentially.
Okay. Got it.
Mr. Chairman, just a quick question, maybe
Sure.
Mr. Smith can just clarify that. So to get an R1 zone, and we're not spot zoning, there's actually an R1 zone on the easterly side of Birdseye, and that 50-foot is the connecting strip between the 2 zones.
Yes, sir.
All right.
Any other questions? Commissioner McGay, any questions?
Yeah, Chair, I have one quick question. Just because I'm looking at Mr. Harbinson's letter that he submitted on this application, and he says development that has occurred in that area of town has generally been via use of the conservation residential district zone. Has there been any consideration to using that instead of an R1 to R1A, or just help me understand why R1A to R1 makes more sense for this?
We stayed with the R1, rather than trying to, develop any open space on the house.
Okay, that's all you got.
Thank you.
Chairman, maybe this is a question for Trina McCoy, but when all is said and done, and after this particular application gets decided, the only thing that's gonna happen is that the zone for a certain portion of the property will change. And then anything that would need to be, that the current property owner wants to do, that's a totally separate application. And if it's for residential, it's gotta go before wetlands. And
Yes, this is for a zone change only. First staff request for a zone change of essentially half of the property that's being presented to us today. If and when, or if that is approved, then there's an entire process that has to move forward from there, which would start with Inland Wetlands Commission, correct.
Okay,
It will eventually end back here with this commission.
right,
Also-
and then, when you look at standards B, Schedule B rather, the standards for lot area. Right now, it's 120,000 square feet for R1A, only 40,000 for R1.
Mhm.
And then there's 13 total standards that have to be met for something that goes into R1. That kind of consideration, I think it would be important for us to make sure that we understand it as commission as a whole, that we're not backing ourselves into a corner.
Correct. If we get to a decision point, those are the factors that we have to consider.
Right.
As well as Mr. Smith mentioned, would be a request to produce what was presented tonight is a non-conforming R1A lot.
Mhm.
Again, as he mentioned, there are other non-conforming R1A lots in the area. And the commission would have to decide if we feel that's appropriate or not.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, no other questions? Okay, so we will move forward to the public hearing portion. First, we will start with people in attendance. We will start with elected officials. We'll start with elected officials in the public auditorium. And first elected official who signed up is Mr. Simonetti.
Thank you very much. Good evening, Anthony Simonetti, 6 Hayfield Drive, Shelton, Connecticut. I'd like to compliment a number of people that came out on this. Very nice to see the audience here at the Shelton Auditorium. And thank you all for being on the board. I know it's a difficult job. For the hearing for this evening on the 276 Leavenworth Road, I agree that we should allow the applicant to put in the R1A to R1 change. I would like to see that those 3 lots are only used for personal homes and nothing else. I don't believe this area of the city needs any multifamily or multi-family buildings. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Our next elected official is Senator Perillo.
Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, thank you very much. And thank you for doing what you do here at night for no money. Just to zoning is your thing. It's not my thing. But I want to speak to the state's role and what has happened in this area of Shelton for as long as it has happened. The state has spent millions of dollars to purchase development rights to ensure that the area here remains functional parts. That has been the core effort and goal of the state of Connecticut. In addition, we've changed statutes in order to help the farms here flourish. We've changed statutes that have helped the winery to succeed. We created a vehicle by which we could have distilleries in town. We did that right before COVID, and it worked. So we have done those things for a reason, and they've worked. We've created here in Shelton, with the cooperation and help of the commission and the administration, a destination. When you ask people around the state, what do you know about Shelton? One of the first things that comes to mind is, wow, you've got all those really nice ones. It's defining. And this is a difficult decision. It may not seem to some folks like a difficult decision. It's not a big piece of property, but it is a difficult decision. And again, zoning's your thing, not mine, but I would just ask that as you move forward with this, you keep in mind all of the effort that has been put into this area by the state of Connecticut, by leaders in town, by property owners in town who've really managed to maintain the character of this in a defining way for Shelton. It would be a shame to carve into that farming character by changing the zoning here. So if there is a plan to do that, I would just ask, with all due respect, that please keep in mind that, you know, all of these things were done by the state and at the local level and by the property owners for a reason and had worked. And it would be a shame to compromise that by making decisions to change the zoning here. And a lot of other folks want to speak, and I don't want to take up too much time, but thank you.
Thank you, sir.
I need to sign in, so it's about it. Can we sign in now?
Sure, once I announce the next person, just come over to the right-hand side, my right, your left, okay? No other elected officials in the audience? Okay, Mr. Dan Beardsley. Good evening, sir. State your name, address for the record.
Good evening. My name is Dan Beardsley. I live at 89 Fairmain Road in Shelton. First, I want to thank all of our friends and neighbors that have come out and are showing so much interest in our local farms. That's obviously a really important topic for all of us. We're here to talk about what our family calls a house lot. That's this whole parcel that was owned by my uncle. And it's called a house lot because the family farmhouse is on that property. The family farmhouse was built in the 1740s, pre-Revolutionary War. My great-grandfather, my grandfather, my uncle were all born in that house. My father lived in that house, and I've lived in it in the summers when our family moved to Pennsylvania so that I can continue to farm here. For those that don't know me, I own the Beardsley Cider Mill and Orchard. I also own White Hills Distillery, and we operate those on the property that adjacents this house lot. So just a story of how this whole thing came about. Uncle Guy passed away, he owned the property, and his 3 children decided to sell out. So I had the property appraised for best use, and they came up with a number, and I put in a bid of $100,000 over that appraised value because it means so much to me and our family and the farm as well. Unfortunately, my cousins did not accept that, and I was outbid by Mr. Caranta, who took ownership. Mr. Caranta and I met many times over the last year, talking about the property, trying to figure out a way that I could purchase it, and we just couldn't find a path that was going to work for both of us. So Mr. Caranta told me that he was going to pursue the affordable housing statutes for the property. The last time I talked to him, he was talking about putting 24 units on this property. Now, that's important to note, 24 units. So now we're here because of these Connecticut state statutes. Not only did, like, Senator Perillo talk about, you know, they help us with our farms, but they can also hurt. We all know places in town and all around us where affordable housing has, you know, come in and, you know, occupy every square inch of a piece of property. So when I heard that, it hurt my heart. I just couldn't let that happen. So I actually proposed this zone change to Mr. Caranta. as a farmer in a way that I think is gonna be the best way to help preserve as much farmland as we can on this property. So again, I'm hoping that this does get approved. Most people wouldn't think the farmer would be asking for a zone change like that. But, I was talking to some state officials and some city officials about the affordable housing rules. I guess they call it 830G. And, all of them told me that it's extremely likely that that would be approved through the state court systems if they went that route. So I felt this was a decent compromise. Gary can have his 3 1-acre lots for a single family home only on the backside of the property. And then I would purchase the front part. So I would purchase the family farmhouse, all the buildings, the barns and everything that goes with it. It would include, as shown on the maps before, all the road frontage along Route 110 or Leavenworth Road, and almost all of it on Birdseye Road. So it's gonna preserve the way it looks from the road. It's, in my mind, it's gonna preserve the family farmhouse. And it will reunite the family farmhouse with the family farm that I currently farm. So that's the most important thing that I want to get across is if this is not approved, the sale to me does not happen. And there's probably 24 units going in there. If it does get approved, yes, we have three new houses on farmland and none of us really want that. But I think it's a much better option. I've been working with Mr. Esperanza and we actually have a signed offer to purchase that property, the remaining property on the north side of it. Gary Carranza signed it, I signed it. And it's got a couple caveats in there. One is, of course, is that the zoning change is approved. I get put my glasses on so I can see. The other one is that only single family houses can go on those 2 pieces of property. And then one that I think is very important is that if it does happen, the seller will not use any of the affordable housing statutes and rules on any of this property at all going forward. So again, I ask you to please consider approving this. I think it's in the best interest for the city, for my family farmhouse getting reunited with the farm, and for pretty much everybody. I'd like to ask if I can have my attorney come up and address another point that he has a lot better expertise on than I do. If that's okay with the board.
Sure.
And thank you very much, and I hope you'll consider my request.
Thank you. This is Dominic Thomas Cullen, Thomas 315 Main Street, Grover, Connecticut. Representing the Beardsley's Cider Mill and Orchard. A place where I have spent a lot of my money coming at this during the fall. I was involved with this at the very beginning. And then out of it, the 2 parties worked on it themselves months later. And I was approached last week and assisted in drafting the offer to purchase, which has those requirements in it. It was brought to my attention, because I had just seen the map last week, that the remaining property that would be conveyed to Beardsley's cider mill and orchard was going to be non-conforming, of course, in the R2 zone. The remaining property is approximately 88,000 square feet, I believe, give or take. And the R2 zone.
R1A.
R1A, I'm sorry. R1A zone is, a lot requirement is 119,000, I think 750, I think is the exact, number for it. So in looking at it, it is clearly the intention, as you heard from Dan Beardsley, that this be blended as part of the farm. The farm is not owned by Beardsley's if you go on the assessor's records, you can see it. It's not owned by Beardsley Cider Mill and Orchard. It's actually owned by, Dan's father. And it could not be exactly merged at this point, but that is the intent at some point in the future for various reasons. So the proposal that I came up with and briefly discussed with your attorney and earlier with Attorney Theodosia is that as part of the condition of this, in addition to any of the terms you want to, that are in the offer of purchase, which must be followed by a written contract between the parties, is that a covenant be placed on the land records covering the property that is going to go to Beardsley's Cider Mill and Orchard. And that covenant would state a couple of things. One, it would be a restrictive covenant that it could never be divided. It cannot be divided ever to build a second home on it, number one. And number two, that it would be within a reasonable period of time, whenever the estate and tax issues allow, be merged with farm. Either under the father's name or in the future under Beardsley's under the ownership of Beardsley Cider Mill and Orchard LLC. So we've tried to address those issues in order to facilitate, because there is some issues to whether or not this commission could create a non-conforming lot. So this way it would resolve it, because you would take care of the issue by placing it on and requiring it to be merged. Once it's merged, it's part of the farm and it's no longer non-conforming. Thank you for allowing me to address that issue.
Thank you, Attorney Thomas. Thank you, Attorney Thomas. Next is Catherine Dalton. Dalton. Say your
Dalton. Hi, everybody. My name is Catherine Dalton. I am 181 Meadow Street, Shelton. I'm also the executive director of the Shelton Historical Society, which is why I'm here today on behalf of them. The Shelton Historical Society's mission is to create connections between Shelton's past, present, and future through education, preservation, and advocacy on all matters of historical importance in our community. Recently, we've been receiving calls and emails from members of our community asking about why we don't do more to preserve these historic buildings in Shelton, including the development and zoning change at 276 Leavenworth Road, also known in our research collection as the Major Ager Judson House. I just would like to share some historic information that the Planning and Zoning Commission may not have. But the rezoning of 276 Leavenworth would be a huge loss in terms of preserving the history and character of the White Hills area in Shelton. Throughout Shelton's 400 or so years of history, this house has been here for a very long part of it. Parishes of Ripton, as we were originally called, was founded in 1717. We were part of Stratford, of course, before that, and we did not get a meeting house, which is kind of a big thing that happens when you're a town, until the 1740s or so. But since then, we've had a strong agricultural history that has helped not only feed our community, but the greater community around us. Farms are necessary, especially more than ever. And 276 Leavenworth Road has been a huge part of that. Originally built in the 1740s, as Mr. Beardsley stated, by Captain David Judson, this house was home. This home was a wedding gift to his son, a Revolutionary War official and militiaman, Major Ager Judson. The house itself has seen little change from when it was built, except for an addition in the late 1800s, early 1900s, which got rid of its typical New England salt box style house. This house has witnessed historical events such as Lausanne's French cavalry passing in 1781 on their way to Yorktown, Virginia. Houses like this might be an odd way to preserve history, as is preserving land. It can be considered kind of an odd way to do it. But the information that is stored in houses as well as on the land and through doing things like farming is vital. It teaches us about how people used to live, and it teaches us about how we continue those ways of life. Even though houses and land cannot truly talk, we can still find massive information in them. We have very few buildings and areas that have not seen a lot of development from the colonial era. And I think the potential destruction would be detrimental. I do want to make it clear, the Historical Society is not against the idea of development and change. That's something as historians, we know is the nature of the world, change. That being said, I do not believe I would be doing my job, nor honoring those who came before me, such as Lynn Mulford and Sandy Mysteriak, and many of the original board members of the Historical Society, if they didn't come here today and share our opinions. Thank you very much for your time.
Good. Chris Nichols? Nichols?
Hi,
Evening.
it's Nichols, Leavenworth Road. And so there was some new information that I didn't understand before I came here, but, I do want to share what I put together, my thoughts. So I really believe that there's a broader issue before us. That's not really one of zone changing. We're building upon recently flourishing certified organic and historical homestead and farmland. But rather the role that which preservation of Beardsley Farm is critical in steering our future, including city planning, recognizing economic growth priorities, as well as the current climate situation. My great-grandfather made his livelihood here, dairy farming in Shelton. And although the farm no longer exists, much of the land remains undeveloped as the Nicholdale Farm property, which is preserved by the Shelton Land and Conservation Trust. The perpetuation of the land brings my family some satisfaction, and not because our name is somewhere on a sign, but more because we know the high value of undeveloped land to our city, as well as to the planet at large. Land is really disappearing at an alarming rate in our country. And in fact, in Connecticut, our working farms and agricultural lands are being lost at a pace much faster than projected 10 years ago. It's also true that farming in Connecticut contributes approximately $4 billion annually to the state's economy. Farmlands provide vital support for the climate crisis, which is mounting exponentially. Land that is used for agricultural purposes provides carbon sinks, which absorb more carbon for our atmosphere than releases. Additionally, land with vegetation actively growing acts as a sponge, which absorbs water during times of heavy rain. This can reduce or even prevent flooding. Even the presence of dormant root systems act as tiny anchors, helping to keep the soil from eroding. And as we all know, in recent years, we've had experienced flooding, which has come at a great economic cost in repairs to our community's infrastructure, as well as expensive personal property damages. Specific to the Beardsley Farm property is its location adjacent to the Means Brook of Greenland. The water from this farm flows downhill over adjacent farmland, city open space, the land trust Nicholdale Farm, water company owned watershed land, and then proceeds to Means Brook, where it ultimately finds its way into the Long Island Sound. Shelton needs all the undeveloped land that it can keep. So it's acting as a sponge for us during times of heavy rain and to assist in the prevention of local flooding along Means Brook. Beyond the value of the Beardsley Farm to our local environment is its historical prominence in the development of Shelton. The house was built in around 1750, and stood through our early agricultural beginnings as well as the Industrial Revolution. It sat upon its foundation through both the American Revolutionary War and the Civil War. It has steadfastly watched as the community around it has changed and evolved, and is a prized landmark that we should preserve and protect as an important part of our local heritage, including the farmlands that are there. And in my mind, the question really isn't whether we can afford to preserve the farmland, but really, can we afford not to? Thank you.
Deborah Samanich.
Good evening. My name is Deborah Samanich. I live on Beardsley Road in White Hills. I had stuff planned, but after tonight, I've crossed that a lot. I'm going to try and wing it here. I originally came here with the probably pipe dream that I would love to see Shelton save the Beardsley Farm in its entirety. As Ms. Nichols said, we're losing so much farmland in, White Hills and in Shelton. I moved here 30 years ago from the east side of Bridgeport, and I thought White Hills was the most beautiful place I've seen. But in the 30 years I've been here, I've seen, Rudy Hudak's land on Beardsley and Diamond Road develop. I've seen Ovesti land develop. I've seen McEwen Farm develop. And now Guy's Farm is in the crosshairs. I could go on and on about what a great guy was. And I do think this is his legacy. And I would love to see the city step in and try to preserve it. But as I said, that was probably a pipe dream. And one of the points I wanted to raise is that I was afraid that if we did not approve the zone change, that the developer, like so many developers lately, would come back and threaten us with affordable housing. I know that Mr. Smith in his talk said they weren't going to. Then Mr. Beardsley came up and said that's exactly what they did. Which leads me to ask, as some other people have, that I think the point here is that Shelton needs a proactive, implemented working plan to address affordable housing, and not just this current list of recommendations of what we could do or might do. And honestly, I think the previous item on the agenda tonight shows that. You have all this housing that they're putting downtown and no affordable housing is in. So that's pretty much what I've come down to. I do have a couple of questions, if perhaps later or somehow the developer could clear that up. I wanted to clarify how many houses are planned. If it is 3, I'm a little unsure as to why there's a zoning change. It's 3 acres. Are there plans to sell the houses in the future? Okay, and then they also mentioned about the affordable housing density that they said they weren't going to do, and now they are. So since most of my stuff has been covered, I just want to say this. Sorry, every morning I pull out of Beardsley Road to go to work. And I look at the house. And I was a friend of Guy's, I worked on Guy's farm. And I miss seeing him walking on his property, driving his green tractor, his hat was feathered in. And I'm personally very, very saddened that his life's work has been sold to the highest bidder for a bunch of colonials with 4 bedrooms, 5 baths, and granite countertops. After a life of service to his country, to his community, and to his fellow farmers, Guy deserves so much better, and so does our community. Thank you.
Susan Wabuda. Good evening, Ms. Wabuda.
Thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak this evening. I am Dr. Susan Wabuda, Professor Emerita of History at Fordham University, and I live on Beardsley Road. I grew up in White Hills. 60 years ago, Mrs. Constance Beardsley was among the librarians who were employed by the city of Shelton at our Plum Memorial Library. Since White Hills was dedicated to farming, and most families then, including ours, were working on their farms every day, the city encouraged Mrs. Beardsley to open a branch of the Plum Memorial Library in her home in the farmhouse at 276 Leavenworth Road on Fridays and Saturdays, so that local parents could bring their children to take out library books. Our parents brought us to Mrs. Beardsley's White Hills branch of the library frequently. All the White Hills children went there. Through the generosity of the city of Shelton and the Beardsleys, I and all our neighbors were able to put our foot on the first rung of reading and learning. As a group, we have been highly successful in our lives and endeavors. In my case, this first rung led to Shelton High School class of 1975, and then to universities. Ultimately, I received a PhD in history at the University of Cambridge in the United Kingdom. Probably the only Shelton student who has ever had the opportunity to do so. So let me take this moment to express my gratitude to the city of Shelton and to Mrs. Beardsley for their generous foresight and investment in our successes in life. But as a historian, let me say that what really matters now is not what happened 60 years ago, but rather what we do today. Like many people, I've been concerned by the implications of Connecticut's new statute, H30G, which, if I understand it correctly, could place a cluster of new houses on the property at 276 Leavenworth Road without regard for its importance as farmland. The late Guy Beardsley, Constance's son, lived in the house and ran his successful Echo Garden there. The house, built around 1750, might be at risk, as we've heard, under 830G, despite its importance as a defining landmark for White Hills and Old Shelton. Reluctantly, I have come to the conclusion that it is better to support Mr. Caranta's application to redesignate a portion of the property from residential zone 1A to residential zone 1, even though I would prefer that the entire parcel remain open farmland. Reluctantly, I've come to respect the agreement that he has made with Daniel Beardsley's Constance's grandson, which could mean that most of the acreage and the historic house would be ultimately reunited with the rest of the Beardsley farm. This plan means that the Beardsley farm will continue to serve the people of White Hills, Shelton, and the greater region in the production of food today and in the future, including apples as well as other crops. Let me close by saying that when I was in England, I learned that there are still farms there that have been growing food for over 2,000 years, since Roman times and before. Beardsley Farm became a farm over 275 years ago, but before the colonists arrived, it was supporting a few thousand people who lived in this region, the Mohegan and the Pocasset peoples. The farm is a precious resource. When we permit the development of active farmland, we remove meals on our tables, possibly forever. I ask the Planning and Zoning Commission to continue to exercise the same foresight and generosity that the city and the Beardsley family exhibited 60 years ago, and to approve the requested zone change. Thank you.
Mark Connolly. Morning, good evening, Mr. Connolly.
Good evening, Mark Connolly. I reside in Trout Falls Road in town. I am a lifelong resident of this city. I am over a 40-year volunteer within the city. I have worked on multiple farms in the town. And as I was sitting here and listening to everyone, I realized what I wrote doesn't matter. There was a book written in 1776 by Thomas Paine. It's called Common Sense. Reuniting the homestead to the Beardsley farm makes common sense. Protecting farmland from overdevelopment is common sense. You have the power to preserve the overall landscape of the White Hills corridor by using common sense and bringing that to fruition. I support the change. I support what the farming community in our town does, and I ask you to support the change as well. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Keith Schuster. Sir.
Keith Schuster, 37 Village Drive, Shelton, Connecticut. Also a lifelong member of Shelton community. With respect to the chairman, nothing further to add. I support Mr. Fuentes' proposal and what the other members have said before me.
Thank you.
Patrick English.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman. Patrick English, 38 Big Point Road. I'm not the orator that these other people are, but I would just like to make my voice be heard that Leavenworth Road, Pearmain, and Birdseye is some of the most beautiful land that you're ever gonna see. And I support Mr. Kranz's proposal to make the change. Thank you.
Thank you. Dan Grow.
Thank you for having me, Dan Giroux, but that's okay. I live on 8 Pear Main Road, which obviously is going to be very effective. Most of my questions have been answered. I appreciate Mr. Dan is a great guy. But there's a couple things I wanted to know. Number one, if anybody's been on Pear Main Road, they know that the width is very small. If I'm trying to come into my home and if there's a UPS, Amazon, city truck for garbage, recycling, etc., you have to wait. So I don't know where this entrance is going to be for this particular project. If it is coming onto Pear Main Road, I believe it's gonna be an issue, especially trying to turn in and turn out. My neighbor already had his camera broken from a truck going in, backing in his driveway that was on number 6. So I'm concerned about that. My other concern is, what about the owls and the hawks that live there? I don't think anybody has addressed that. I love watching birds. I'm retired. And I really enjoy walking there and seeing nature at its finest. And the last thing that I have to say is, to be threatened by public housing or affordable housing, 24 units, is totally insane. Anybody who can just threaten to do what they want and have everybody kowtow is just, to me, it's very disgusting. It's not how I grew up. I've lived here for like over 40 years. I love where I live. And I don't know if I'm for this or against this. I don't know. But I appreciate Dan very much. He has a heart and soul of Shelton as far as I'm concerned. Thanks.
Is it Alicia Palmieri? I can't read this one. It's not my fault. I know. Can't read it.
Hi, I'm Alina. Can you hear me okay? Yeah. So I live at 6 Garen Road. I live in the house that Dan was mentioning back into the camera. Obviously I don't want permits on the lot. But whatever the decision tonight, I would just like to remind the board that you guys are here to serve us. And that is an honor to be on this board. And personally, I do not agree with the decision you made on the previous thing. Because obviously you guys know there's not enough parking downtown, and yet you still approve them to continue with their project. And there's only one board member that disagreed with you. So I would like to remind you to keep your standards high and that we are the people and we would like to be heard tonight. Thank you.
Kimberly Wager.
Hi, Kimberly Wager, 156 Village Drive. My prepared remarks are redundant, but I fully support Mr. Beardsley's plan. I just wanted to step forward as a resident of White House.
Thank you. Connor. Help me out, Connor. Connor.
Connor Donegan, sorry for the poor handwriting.
It's better than mine.
I echo all the sentiments that have already been made. I firmly support the rezoning application. My ties to this land are, my first job way back in 8th grade were at Guy's Eco Garden, 276 Leavenworth Road. Guy was my confirmation sponsor, in church.
Oh,
And, I started working the farmers markets in downtown Shelton with him, in 8th grade and worked there every summer. Through college, now I've made my way down the hill to the distillery with Dan and Donna. So needless to say, the land means a lot to me. It has such a legacy in this town. And if you look back when they announced they were, guys, children were going to be selling, the comments were flooded with, please don't let it turn into development, multifamily. Please preserve the farmland, and I know that I speak for many, we would hate to see that happen, and I just ask that you consider everything you've heard tonight to preserve the legacy of this land. Thank you.
Thank you. Renee Marsh, William O'Leary, are you speaking together?
Renee Marsh, I live at 136 Maple Avenue, White Hills, in a historic Hubble property. I have all the sympathy in the world for the position that you are in and the compromise that you'd like to make, but at some point, it's time to stop being bullied and to see if that can be reversed and not allow this to go through. So I do not agree with the reason.
Bill O'Leary, 136 Maple Avenue here in Shelton. I first came here tonight to oppose this, adamantly oppose this. The reason we moved here 15 years ago was because of the farmy feel of this corner of Shelton. Shelton's a very varied city, I've come to learn. Lots of different characters for different corners, and the farm atmosphere here is what drew us, and I think draws a lot of people for the open space. I'm angry at the previous owners for giving Dan short shrift. I'm angry with the fact that low quality, low cost housing rules are such that it forces these situations. I'm angry with the developer for buying this piece of property, planning to do that. But I now understand that it placed Dan in a position where, you know, he had no choice. And actually, his solution is probably the best outcome for this property. So I sympathize with him, and I would ask Senator Perillo and all our other representatives in Hartford, correct these stupid low-cost housing laws so that we don't face this. If we face this again and again, it's never. The farmland around here and developers salivating, you're gonna be asked to do this over and over, and inch by inch, we're gonna see the disappearance of our open space. Thank you.
Thank you. Joe Welsh.
Hi, everybody. I'm Joe Welsh, Shelton Land Trust President. We own about 380 acres throughout the city of Shelton. Some are just open space, wetland areas, buffers between houses. Others are larger areas with trails, a scout camp. Some are even ag lands. And some of those ag lands we lease to Dan. We have a great deal. I'm not gonna bore you, which is not boring, but I'm not gonna read this big long letter. But the watermark in the back, those sunflowers are directly across from Guy's property. And that's our tribute to all the farmers in the community and farmers that passed. So we will make this available on our social media. So everybody in this room, if you don't want to look on the city's website to read it, it'll be there for you to view. What I would like to do is encourage you to be creative. We all have the opportunity to be creative. Dan's a partner in this creativity. Now there's potential for 3 acres that maybe a deal could be struck with the property owner. Everything has a dollar value. And maybe the city could step in. The alderman could look at this and the community at large to say, this is worth buying. Our mayor has done this in the past and it's worked. So that's my recommendation. I have some other info for your commission. No farms, no food, and save Connecticut farmland. So take those if you want. This is also a guide, planning for agriculture, a guide for Connecticut municipalities, emerging ag trends. And then this is conservation options for protecting farmland, a guide for landowners, land trusts, and municipalities. I think we can all work together, and I'm hopeful in being creative. Let's figure out how to make it work. And I think the bigger picture, which it's in my letter about affordable housing, I think we should all bring our heads together. We have developers in the room, we have farmers, we have other people that care, we have your group. And how do we put a comprehensive plan together where it identifies and helps affordable housing needs? It's done in other municipalities and there's some great examples out there, but that's another discussion. And I'm happy to meet with anybody that would like to talk about that because it's our community and what we do benefits generations to come. So thank you for listening, and whatever the decision is, keep on farming.
Terry Eagle.
Look, I'm Terry Eagle and I live on Christmas Tree Hill Road for over 10 years. And as you can surmise that I live adjacent to the Jones Farm. I understand the importance of farmland, open space, and good stewardship that the local farmers provide. I just wanted to say I'm opposed to Shelton losing farmland and I support Dan and his farm.
Lisa Fern Boros.
Hi, I'm Lisa Boros. I live on 60 Bird's Eye Road. I came here for fear of there being a multi-family development on this piece of property. And I still stand that that should not be done on that piece of property. It doesn't sound like it will be, but it's totally not appropriate. And I agree with the land trust president that if there's some sort of creative solution that could keep this piece of property as farmland, that's the ideal situation. I don't know if that can happen. To me, the application as is written, it makes no sense for us common folks. So I think it needs to be restated somehow for the intent for it to remain farmland and enhance Mr. Beardsley's business as a farmer. So whatever that means for how you process that document, I don't know, but for me, it makes no sense the way it's written. Thank you.
Thank you. Ryan Isumaki.
I'm watching from 49 Pyramid Road.
Yeah.
I think Dan has the best solution for the for that project. I live on Pyramid, multifamily, it's a country road, cannot support that, like all those cars and everything. Thank you.
Thank you. Terry Jones.
Terry Jones, 606 Walnut Tree Hill Road, Jones Family Farm. So first of all, if you eat, you're involved with agriculture. Think about that. So we all are. I had the privilege to co-chair, and I'm trimming this down. There's been a lot of really good things to say over it. That's the co-chair the Shelton Conservation Commission and with Harriet Wilbur during the decade of the 1990s. And we often discuss the preservation and conservation of farms in Shelton. And Shelton has been a farm-friendly community.
and a Connecticut leader in both farmland protection and economic development since then. Working together, commissions of Parks and Rec, Conservation, Planning and Zoning, along with the Alderman and Mayor Loretti, have established greenways with farms, forests, open space, hiking trails, and so on, largest being the Means Brook, which is in White Hills. And it provides all the benefits several others have mentioned. Of course, the crown jewel there is the Beardsley Farm at the vital crossroads junction since 1849, when the land in the 1750 Judson House was purchased by the family. It was used for farming as well as a store established in the front rooms of the first historic house. And I do remember as a child, the dairy and the turkeys. And when Stephen and Connie Beardsley managed the farm, she did dedicate that front room to the library. Every Friday, the school bus would stop and and several other kids would get off and run in and pick out a book. And then the school bus would pick us up again, and I'll never forget that. And the other really sweet thing is that Stephen Beardsley played an instrument called a cornet. And many a summer evening, he would go out in his backyard and just play. And the sounds of that instrument would float half a mile across the fields to our house. And you could hear it plain as day. Of course, there wasn't any cars in Leavenworth Road at that time. Last week, I walked across Dan Beardsley's orchards. And it's just so beautiful out there. And he had he was mentoring a young man in how to do some spring pruning. And I was just spellbound. This young history graduate from college, and he's learning the art and science of taking care of apple trees. Soon the buds on those trees will swell and bloom. Tasty, healthy fruit will develop, and hopefully a new career in farming will blossom for this apprentice. It was just beautiful. The key to successful sustainable farming, besides having the people that want to farm, is having the freedom to farm in places protected for the activities of farming. And I'm a little concerned building non-farm housing adjacent to active farms often results in some turmoil, because the hardest pest for a farmer to deal with is an angry suburban neighbor that is built right next to the farm. And they want to relax in peace and quiet while necessary farm activities must be performed. And these homeowners like looking at beautiful farm views, but then tend to complain about the noise, dust, and odors that may emanate from farm. And I have known in cases of lawsuits that bother the farm and the town. Just another comment, we had preserved the Beacon Light Dairy, the Bechkowski farm in the 90s with conservation easements. And a year later, owners of a parcel abutting that farm for several thousand feet in the north fence came in for subdivision, and there was going to be a row of homes right along the fence, many homes. And fortunately, with the assistance of Mayor Loretti and this commission, not the same people, it was a long time ago, stepped in and were able to successfully create a buffer of wooded open space and housing setbacks from our border of 300 feet. This cooperation has brought success. Not a single homeowner in 25 years we've had no disagreements. It's been so impressive. So in conclusion, the highest and best use is for 276 Leavenworth farmland to continue to provide an economic and fruitful contribution to the city. In the words of my great-great-grandfather, Philip James Jones, who came from Ireland in the 1830s in the pursuit of farming, be good to the land, and the land will be good to you. What better way for Shelton to help celebrate our nation's 250th anniversary? And I will say that I applaud what Dan has stepped forward to initiate. But several have mentioned that I do think it's worth looking into getting those several acres where there's good farmland protected, and whether through the land trust or available for the farmer that's there, or for a newer beginning farmer that's grew some mighty fine vegetables there. So just remember, if you eat, you're involved with agriculture.
Is it Guy Machia?
I still tell one to follow Jerry Jones. I feel like I'm going to history class, to write what I did for the day, I passed it, I'll ace it. It's a short letter. I apologize, I did not get a chance to submit it online, and Will could do it. I can give you a paper copy. You my cheaters. First off, thank you for allowing me to speak and the committee. Speaking with some fellow farmers, neighbors down the hall here, I'm just starting to understand what's going on. I think we can all probably agree we need to get on the same wavelength as what's going on. I apologize, I've kind of rushed into this. I see new ideas are popping up. Dan had a suggestion, Terry had a suggestion, concern. The result is, there's a lot of concern. I think a lot of it is, we don't quite understand what the town, with the zoning, what the builder wants to do, and we need to speak for it. With that said, let me just get back to my letter, which I'm gonna read, which is now probably not quite accurate after learning this. But as I stated, my name is Guy Shelton Lamacchia, 14 Pyramid Road, Shelton, Connecticut. I have lived in Shelton my entire life at 14 Pyramid Road. The land, the old orchard, now it's the old orchard, was a wedding gift to my parents, Dr. Jeanette Wade Brewster and Dominic Edward Lamacchia in 1967. At the time, it was the new orchard when my parents moved in there in 67, planted by my grandfather, William Kiefer Brewster, and great uncle, Stephen Beardsley, as you heard, Stephen and Connie Beardsley, the library out there, that's my great uncle. At the turn of the century in 1907 to 1910, when that orchard was planted. And that's next to, that's behind where Beardsley Cider Mill West Lot, Pick Your Own Orchard is now. That lower west lot, that was actually the old orchard, since cut down, and that's why my orchard became the old orchard, because the older orchard was cut down. Anyway, being the facility that my father was, he always wanted a small garden, as his parents had back, and the parents and grandparents had in Sicily. And I remember as a young boy pruning the trees to reclaim them to produce again. In the early 1980s, my father and I planted the orchard you see now at the top of Route 110 Hill, north of the Pine Tree Lot and west of the land that Dr. Brewster, my mother, placed into a land trust across the street at 255 Leavenworth was the house she grew up, my grandmother's, where my grandparents, Sue and Willie Brewster, I'm sorry, Sue and Willie Brewster lived, and there was an orchard there as well too. My father and I produced, worked it, sold it. I used to sell apples on the back of my truck in the 80s down in Stamford. My mother, Dr. Brewster, was quite the historian who argued before this very, well, not you at Sarah's Dead, not this same committee, but she argued before this very committee when the town was citing Pyramid Road was historical scenic road against Dean and Beardsley. When did the building house stand? 891? 95. So it's 1995. mother came down here, what's the story she was, and was arguing that, well, it's not a scenic road, lower White Hills, but lower, I mean, not upper, we're talking about upper. She argued that, it's not a scenic road against, Dan Beardsley building one house on 100 acres that you can't see from anywhere unless the leaves are not out and you fly over. My mother proved through deeds, diaries, and receipts that in 1937, Lower Pearmain Road was in fact an industrial working sawmill, hence the name Sawmill City Road. I believe it was Ford Wolf back at the time, not Ford Wolf present, Ford Wolf back in 1637. Had traded some wood for a cow or some produce. Again, I don't quite have the details. This is 1637, before my time. I recall the town saying, okay, you can build your house. We weren't incorporated until 1798. So, and then there are many small farms and quite large, obviously. Jones's, I mean, it's iconic. It's the last of it. People build houses. Well, I don't live next to a farm. So if you build your house, you're not living next to a farm anymore, and that's why it's a farmland, because the farms has houses for the staff, the family, and they have 100 acres, and make 2 houses and 3. Not put in, I'm not sure of the details. You're talking about low-income housing, apartment units. Again, I don't know, I have to hear that. But regardless, I do know that a zone change from 1A to 1B means to do, and any change toward allowing more housing would diminish the value of the land. And I would hope that this town would be appraised and lower our property tax then, if that's the goal by Boston houses, to say, well, more houses, pay less in taxes. Thank you.
Thank you. Jennifer Sutrali? Sutro? Can't read it.
Good evening, Jennifer Petrelli, 23 Wake Robin Lane. I just want to say I was a little torn with this. I drive by the property every day. I love it. I think the Bearsleys do a great job with the farm and their business. I do support this just because I like the idea that Dan was able to come together with the developer. And this is, I think, the best solution. I will say that if you do approve the zones change, you do so with conditions. Somebody brought up something about a land use restriction or not being able to divide the farmland part, the farmhouse part. I think that should be considered. I also think the 3 buildable lots off Pearmain, you should put in there the condition that it's gotta be 3, you know, they can't come back for 4 or whatever. But in all reality, let's not kid ourselves. This is 2006. We're in the state of Connecticut. Look what's going on in Hartford. Hartford's trying to control all the cities in town. And they're trying to take away the planning and zoning commission's rights. And this isn't right. It's not a one size fits all. And I think we gotta put a lot of pressure. I was really disappointed that the city didn't try to buy this property. And I think we gotta start putting pressure on the city to come up with funds or to come up with some sort of investment fund or some vehicle, work with the conservation. We heard from a lot of really good people here tonight that are knowledgeable. They know the history. They know the state statutes. Everybody has a lot of knowledge here. Let's leverage it. Let's come together. Let's put pressure on the city so that this doesn't happen again. Let's not wait till this happens. The city should be ponying up the money. If the city came up with 1.2, 1.3 million, we wouldn't be here. We wouldn't be at this. This can very well happen again. This is only 5 acres. We all know property values are going up and builders want to get in here. Let's be proactive, put the pressure on everybody, come together. What's the solution? There's grants out there. Do they take a long time? Yes. Or is it money to put up front? Yes. Other towns do it. They don't want developers in. They want to preserve historic properties. They want to preserve farmland. If other towns can do it, why can't we? And I just think that the city, you know, this is gonna happen again. We've got a lot of great farms, you've got people getting older. It's really hard to find younger generation going into farming. Who knows, maybe with AI, it's gonna go backwards that way, right? But I just think that this can happen again, and let's not wait till it's too late. And, you know, the city's got budget hearings coming up, write letters, talk to your council people, go to the hearings. And put pressure on the city to come up with money so that if this happens again, they've got a kitty that they could take from. And, you know, so that we could preserve where we live. Thank you.
Thank you. there anyone else in the auditorium that wishes to speak? Come on up, man.
Thank you.
Your name, ma'am?
I did submit my testimony, online. I'm Jean Jones, from the Jones Family Farms. I just want to summarize something I have not heard yet this evening. As I indicated, I married Terry Jones, 57 years ago and came as a suburban kid to, live here in Shelton, Connecticut.
We're still best friends.
Yeah, I would say the marriage barely made the first year because farming was such a hard livelihood. But I now, when I first came, I pursued my career and I am still active as a community dietitian. I mean, yes, community dietitian nutritionist, and I really want to speak to that particular issue. But I'm also speaking to farmland because I have become devoted to farmland and people ask us sometimes when they come to our farm, what do you grow? And I say, we grow soil. And I've heard no one say anything about Guy Beardsley and the amount of work that he put into that farm that he developed over 30 years. He used organic growing practices. I see the way we farm at our farm, where we work every year to use cover crops and plant the proper, rotate things around so we can have good farmland. We have a very good piece of farmland up there and no one is speaking about preserving the farm. So I want to talk to the issue of the fact that small farms are really important and no one is, do they think it's just because it was 5.3 acres is not important? I'd like to have people remember the fact that during the World War II, this country was able, through the use of victory gardens, to supply 40% of the produce that this country needed. But the most amazing thing to me as a nutritionist is the fact when you look at the health data of that area, chronic heart disease, diabetes, cancer, hypertension, all the rates went way down. And why? People were eating fruits and vegetables. And that's what these small farms do. Now, we're in a very interesting era right now because doctors are realizing that this is how we can solve some of the health crises that we have right now. And if we do save these small farms, and I really want to speak to farms that are 4, 5, 10 acres, because we need more of them in Shelton. And I would like to also be creative with this town and our commissions to say, we do own farmland in this town. We could have a lot more small farms. We could have a lot more community gardens. We could have a lot more farmers markets. We could do a lot of things. We could support our school lunch programs a lot better, our senior centers a lot. So anyways, I think small farms are very important. So I thank you for letting me make this point. I'm very sympathetic with Dan's situation because I am a historic nut and that house, I will put myself in front of it before anything happens to it. But I do believe that the farmland and the house need to be saved together. And I think we can find a creative solution as the citizens of Shelton to save the farmland and the historic house. And I would like to have Dan's business continue, but I also want a farm for the future. And so, you have to think beyond our current generation. You have to think what's going to happen. We only live 40 years if you actively work. Another 40 years from now, is that going to still be a farm available for another farmer to continue? Thank you for your consideration.
Anyone else in the auditorium? Your name, sir?
It's Greg said, I live on the corner, I live at 224 Birdseye Road, on the corner of Birdseye and Pyramid.
I'm sorry, your name again?
This is Brad. First name's Brad. I lived there for 52 years, so I remember getting when I was a little kid. I'm very sympathetic to what Dan is going through. If they build houses, are they gonna improve Pyramid? Are they gonna improve the water flow that when it rains, it runs down Beardside and down the corner and all the way down Pyramid and ends up on Dan's property? Will they be a buffer? Are they gonna widen Pyramid Road? Right now, the garbage truck, when they pick up the garbage, it has to back down to the one side and then come up, turn around, drive down Fairman, pick up the other side and then back all the way out. Are they gonna improve that road? Are they gonna improve Birdseye? Is there gonna be a buffer between, I live right on the corner. Is there gonna be any kind of buffer where the houses, like somebody mentioned the driveways already on, Pyramid? I remember, people moving into one of the new houses, they couldn't drive the moving truck down Pyramid, they had to park right in front of my house and load it onto smaller trucks to get down Pyramid to get into the drive. There's a lot of wetlands on that property, I know there's a man-made pond right there. Is this gonna have to go through wetlands?
Yes, we mentioned that earlier, yes, sir.
I'm very sympathetic to Dan, know what you're going through. And if this is the best solution, that you can come up with more for, I'd like to see it stay farming there. Like somebody mentioned, Dan's grandfather, Steve, way back. I remember when they used to, guy and his wife, they used to fire the muskets out in the yard, you know. I remember my kids used to play on Birdseye. I mean, you can't drive, you can't go out in that road. Everybody uses it for a cut through street now. Traffic is horrendous on there. It's just gonna add to it. What are you gonna do with the school kids? I mean, they had people drive up and park right on the corner to wait for the school bus because you can't walk up and down Pyramid anymore. That's all I have to say.
Thank you, sir.
Martin Lilly, 10 Pyramid Road. Mine's more of a question as opposed to a speech. I think everybody did a great job. I don't have anything to add. I think everybody covered what I wanted to discuss tonight. Mine's more of a question in the sense of for next steps in this proposal. If this goes through the application process, will there be another public hearing where we will know exactly what is going to actually be built on the property? Where all of us can attend, so if this proposal goes through and it's the 3 acre lots, that we'll know exactly that they're basically three colonial houses that are built. I just want to know if there will be another public hearing for that.
Yes, sir.
Oh, okay, that was my question.
Okay.
Yeah, we just want to make sure whatever is built there is what's said is exactly what's built there.
This is just for the zone change.
Yeah.
Today.
Understood. So we'll be kept aware of it as it progresses.
There'll be notice just like today. Yeah.
Great. Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Your name, ma'am?
My name is Renee Protomaster Everett. I'm here with my husband Gary Everett. I had my name on the list and I took it off because you said if you have a letter on file, you don't need to reiterate what's said in the letter. After hearing everyone here tonight, I'm sorry, I have to add to my comments, my husband's comments. We live in a 254-year-old house. It was built by a Revolutionary War hero. We are very blessed to live on land that's owned by the Shelton Land Trust next to us. We farm, we garden on 2 acres of land. It's all organic. We eat year round on everything we make. Look at this room. This is grassroots. We are here because we care. And I implore you to please consider what farming means to this community. It is so important. It is more important every day. And our health and our way of life is really threatened right now. I understand Dan's position. He should be applauded for trying to come to a solution. But I agree with Joe Welch, president of our Land Trust. We've got to be creative. This is 5 freaking acres. We can't figure out a way to save it. Guy Beardsley was a hero in our community. Anyone who crossed his path
knows how important his life was. We can't let it be tossed. We can't build a couple houses and save a little piece for the value that is there in the existing farm. We have to save the whole thing. There should be no compromise. Please, please, don't do this. Thank you.
Hey, Ms. Castro, we'll move on to anyone who's waiting on Zoom.
Somebody else.
Okay, hold on. Sir,
Brian Lazat, Ward Two Alderman.
Yeah.
City of Shelton.
sorry, sir, I didn't realize you were here. I would have called you earlier.
No problem. I live at 198 Division Avenue in Shelton. Lived in Shelton all my life, 68 years. I also am a co-author of the Pictorial History of Shelton, which I wrote with 1989 with Jeanette Brewster. It's a great volume. So all the farmland in Shelton, we do not need to decrease the farmland. We need more open space, and that's what I wanted to say. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Well, can I submit this letter? I apologize. I realized there were several people who had letters. I think we all need more time to submit this. I know. Yeah, doesn't help you already.
Just, you just submit.
Okay.
So as Ms. Castro's trying to see if anyone's there, so anyone understands, if you have any letters you'd like to submit, you could submit it to staff. If you have any questions that come up after, today, you can submit to staff. Okay, Ms. Castro, is there anyone on Zoom who's raising their hand or pressing star 9?
Yes, I'm going to be promoting Mr. Tom Parkinson.
Tom Harbinson here. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Thank you very much. Tom Harbinson, Shelton, Connecticut. I chair the Conservation Commission, and served on it since 1998. I did submit a letter, and so I'm not going to add anything more to that content at this time, but I had talked to Alexandria if possible. There was a short 3-minute video created that speaks to the history of the parcel and its value to the community. If that could be played at this time, I think it would be helpful. Thank you.
Mr. Harbinson, yes, I spoke with staff earlier and I reviewed the video. We can view it.
Before that, it was just country for it. And before that, it was just the 21 scary fire. Land around there. You gotta figure out something how to make it available for the other people. Yeah, here, with James, you go small game. But not yet ready, you're gonna see how big they are. Inch and a half, 2 inches. But everything right there, it'll be producing. If we stay up there. We might average. You know, it's hard. You well in the community, you got to influence the community. That's our friend, we have to be right. One of the things that struck me as Wendell Berry was a farmer from Kentucky. So it takes 3 generations to understand how to use a piece of land, how to care for it properly. And it just takes a long time to really understand when to plant the crops and how to care for the soils. It's an enormous amount of information, needs to be accumulated and can really only be understood by actual direct experience. Shelton City Hall, where we have a Roxbury College highlighting the balanced family shelter, where development is highlights as well as here's the people larger we frame Shelton Hall highlight here's the organic manufacturing farms. Picture on that house that was working. Constructed, where this country was formed more than 250 years ago. So you consider this in terms of the zone change and how it impacted the agricultural location. We have the R1A zone and the gateway to our community farms all in that area.
I'll just note that link is included in Mr. Harbison's letter. There's a longer video attached to it as well.
Correct. Okay, thank you. Is there anyone else online? Anyone else online?
No. No.
You got a question, sir?
No, it's a statement.
Okay. What's your name, sir?
Gary Everett, Main Street. My wife just spoke to me.
Sure.
I think one thing that's blatantly obvious, from sitting here this evening is that there's a lot of confusion as to what this proposal was. I'm sure that if you had more public awareness, what the plan was, what the original proposal was, what's now proposed, what Dan's trying to do, that you'd get a lot more involvement from the community. And I also think that the commission owes it to the community to make sure there's no decision made until the land trust, the state and the town and Mayor Loretti have an opportunity to see what can be done. Because the message wasn't there. Okay, I read the Huntington Herald every week. I haven't seen anything about this. So I just think that that's very important before any decisions are made. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for everyone who came out tonight, everyone's who participated in the public comment. I appreciate it. On behalf of the commission, I appreciate when the public comes out to provide feedback to us on projects or applications. Doesn't happen often, but when it does, it's well noted. Does the applicant wish to respond to any of the questions?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you to the members of the public that did come out tonight. If you want to statements.
If you can speak closer into your mic, I'm sorry, it's not picking up.
Everybody else has a problem with my as I said, a lot of good comments both for and against, but I guess let me back up a little bit and to be clear. The proposal that we propose on the table tonight is a zone change application, which is the first step, and I know the commission is aware of this, but the zone change application is the first step in the process. Toronto's bought the property, they would like to put some single family homes on the property. 3 single family homes. 40,000 square foot lots, it's the R1 zone. R1 zone is not a multifamily zone. I stated from the beginning, I was in agreement with the letters that were on file, was that we do not want to build multifamily or affordable housing. We are looking for, quite simply, 3 single-family lots, homes, that will front on Pearmain Road, meeting the 40,000 square foot standard of the R1 zone. Stated previously that Pearmain Road, is a narrow road. And part of the subdivision application, subdivision approval, would be dedication of additional right-of-way for the town regulations, so that, the right-of-way is wide enough so that Pearmain Road could be widened at some point in the future. Do we have plans to widen Pearmain Road? Not at this point in time. But we would provide the right-of-way as required by your regulations if we do come in back with a subdivision. And then never have we threatened, never have we mentioned 830G or an affordable housing application. That's not what we want to do. Quite simply, we want to do three single-family lots. We'd like to allow the Beardsley to combine the original homestead with the property next door. And that's it. There's no hidden agenda. There's no multifamily that we want to do. And this is, all we want to do is 3 single-family houses there. We believe we have a good solution with Dan taking the farmhouse and about 2 acres of land. And the other 3 acres, we have single-family homes fronting on Pearmain with 3 individual driveways coming out of Pearmain Road. So, with that, again, we think the current proposal that's on the table is the best solution for all parties involved. And, I think that's it. We'll wait and see what we hear from Macquarie on, and we'll see you in months or weeks.
Thank you, sir.
Continue to.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Is it, August 8th? April 8th? Okay, thank you, sir. As I mentioned earlier, I'm going to request that the commission vote to continue public hearing and keep it open, specifically to allow Aquarion and the Connecticut Department of Public Health to respond to the notice for April 8th meeting. I'll accept a motion in that regard.
So moved, Chairman.
Whatever. I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes 5-1.
Mr. Chairman, can
Yes.
I just address a couple things?
Yes.
I think you're going to vote yes.
No, he said opposed.
He said aye.
You say, I'm sorry, Commissioner McGee, you say opposed or aye?
No, I was an aye.
Oh, I'm sorry.
First of all, it's until beginning of December, I had the inevitable task of sitting in Chair Cristiano's seat.
Yes.
And I just wanted to let the public know that 3 years ago, on March 29th, when I was chair of this commission, adopted our affordable housing proposal. And that was something that we had to put together as a city by state law. All the 169 communities in the state of Connecticut had to do this. It has been and it was approved on May 11th, 2023 by the Shelton of Alderman, and that document has been on the planning and zoning page of on the city's website since then. It's 35 plus pages. It reviews in depth the current situation in Shelton, and on page something like 27 or 28, are the recommendations that we came forward with at that time as to, increasing the affordable housing stock in Shelton. There are some things that work against us, as a community, and unfortunately, those are things that they're hard to change at the state level. Because there's a certain philosophy as to how things should be. But, I also wanted to let you know that the material that everyone presented tonight, for all of our applications are on the city's website. There's clearly on the, planning and zoning page, it talks about open applications, and if you click on that, you'll see all the ones that we're currently processing. And when you click on a particular application, it lists all the documents, and you can see the date and time that those documents were submitted. So things are not done 2 days before we have a session like this. The documents that we went through tonight go back to sometimes in January, even sooner. So there is a lot of time to look at these. It's just a matter that you may not be aware that those documents are there, but they have to be for transparency. And the last point is that some people have mentioned about Shelton being well-known for the community it is. And let me tell you, 40 years ago, I had to go to New York City to take a class in public relations. Gentleman who was our instructor was from Westchester County, and he went around the room and he asked us all to introduce ourselves. So when he got to me, I said, "Hi, I'm Jane Hardner, I live in Shelton, Connecticut." And he said, "Shelton, Connecticut? I go to Jones Family Farms every year, the day after Thanksgiving, to get my tree." And so Terry and Jones Family Farm has been well recognized for years and years and years. And so that's about it. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Harger, for your guidance as always. I appreciate it. Seeing there's no other business, I declare this meeting adjourned at 9:07 PM.